and welcome to the 2026 British Gymnastics Championships. We're live in Liverpool at the M&S Bank Arena. We have 59 British titles up for grabs over the course of this weekend, and it's going to be an incredibly exciting competition.
Yes, I'm Sydney Davies. Alongside me is Olympic medalist Sam Oldham, and we are here from a packed M&S Bank Arena. They are making an absolute racket behind us, and the competition hasn't even gotten underway yet, so this is going to be a cracker of a competition, Sam.
Absolutely, Sydney. The atmosphere in here is going to be electric. We have some of the very best gymnasts in the world competing today in the all-around event to be crowned the British champion. We're going to see the return of Max Whitlock. We've got Jake Jarman competing on 6 apparatus and many, many more.
Yeah, the 2025 edition of this Artistic Gymnastics Championships was incredible enough. But this year, as you mentioned, Sam, some of the names returning are really going to heat this competition up. In the women's competition, we've got all of our Paris Olympians coming back. Becky Downey, MBE, is going to be here. Alice Kinsella, Georgia May Fenton, Ruby Evans, Abby Martin, to name just a few of the talent that are really going to be vying for this all-around title.
Yeah, that's right, Sydney. The field in both the men's and the women's competition is absolutely stacked. I'm so excited to see these performances, and it's going to be an incredible afternoon for everybody here in the arena, for us in the studio, and also everyone at home watching.
Yeah, we're all so excited to see what these gymnasts are able to put out there today. We're live on BBC iPlayer, and you might be watching at home with family members who perhaps haven't seen gymnastics before. So take a look at this explainer video to get you up to speed with everything you need to know for this afternoon.
Women compete on 4 pieces of apparatus: vault, uneven bars, beam and floor. Men compete on 6 apparatus: floor, pommel, rings, vault, parallel bars and high bar. Performances can last from about 10 seconds for a vault run to 90 seconds on the floor. In an all-around competition, gymnasts compete on each piece of apparatus. Their combined score on all pieces gives them their all-around total. Nailing all routines is a tough task. Just a small mistake can affect the final score and move them out of medal contention. Some gymnasts will not compete on all apparatus and will not be included in the all-around rankings, only competing to qualify for the apparatus finals. In apparatus finals, medals are fought for by the best gymnasts on a single piece of apparatus. The men have 6 apparatus finals. The women have 4. Each final contains 8 gymnasts. The top 8 gymnasts taken from the all-around competition on a particular piece of apparatus. Apparatus specialists have their chance to shine in these finals, competing their hardest routines to fight it out for the title of apparatus champion. Routines are judged by a panel of 4 judges. 2 of these form the E jury and 2 form the D jury. The E jury look at the execution of a routine. Starting with 10 marks, they will deduct marks for technical errors such as falls, bent legs, and other mistakes. The D jury assesses the difficulty of a routine. Each skill in a routine has its own difficulty value. During a routine, the top 8 skills are added up to make the difficulty score. The E and the D scores are then added together to make the final score. More information can be found in the events programme.
Incredibly insightful stuff there, and a little bit of an explanation as to what everybody is going to see in this gymnastics competition today. We're going to see the very best gymnasts in the men's competition on 6 apparatus, and in the women's they're going to compete on 4 apparatus.
And it's not long until we'll be getting today's competition underway. There's already been some incredible action this week, but now we turn our attention to the senior competitions this afternoon. Both the men and the women will be competing in their all-around competitions, which, as Sam mentioned, means they get to go on every piece of apparatus. Some will only do 1 or 2 pieces and be trying to qualify for the finals. But it's all about this afternoon, Sam, isn't it?
Absolutely, Sydney. We've got the men's all-around final starting at 2:55. The first 2 rotations are going to just be the men, and then at rotation 3, the women are going to enter the competition, and we're going to see the start of their all-around event.
And with some of the biggest names in not only British gymnastics, but world gymnastics competing, you can bet this crowd are going to make some noise when the likes of Becky Downey, Alice Kinsella, Georgia May Fenton, and 2 new world gymnastic medalists in Ruby Evans and Abby Martin make their way into this arena. But we have already had plenty of action here in Liverpool this morning. Because there are so many women's gymnasts vying for that title, we had to split them into 2 groups, and this morning we saw some of fantastic gymnastics from the under-18s in the men's competition, the Aspire Apparatus finals, and our first group of women's individual all-around competitors. We saw Taja James make her comeback from injury, and she did incredibly well on the beam and the floor, and you were so impressed by the under-18 competition, weren't you, Sam?
Absolutely, Sydney. Some of the performances we saw this morning would have been right up there with the senior men's gymnastics program we're going to see this afternoon. So an exciting group of young gymnasts who really are that next generation. And in these first rotations, we're going to start with a bang. We've got Courtney Tulloch, one of the best rings workers in the world, starting on that apparatus. We've also got Luke Whitehouse, who's going to be hoping to perform on multiple events. He's going to be doing 6 apparatus at this competition. He's a standout performer on the floor, having won the European gold and the floor gold in 2025. And then over on the high bar, we have the English champion, Jonas Rushworth, who's going to be hoping to finish up on the podium in the all-around event, starting on one of his favoured apparatus, the horizontal bar.
Jonas, you mentioned there, reigning English champion. He had quite the competition in Telworth just over a month ago. He scored above 80 in the all-around competition, and we can't underestimate how difficult that is, Sam.
No, absolutely, Sydney. Any of the men's gymnasts today that break 80 points, that is a world-level score. So that's what you're looking for, everybody back home. There's 6 events in men's gymnastics. You have 2 events on the legs, 2 events on the upper body, 2 events where you're hanging, and it's going to be so exciting. I think we're going to pass right now to the commentary box to chat to Katie and Olympian James Hall to talk about the action that we're going to see this afternoon.
We love having Katie in the commentary booth, and making his commentary debut is Olympian James Hall. How are you both doing?
I'm so excited. As you've already mentioned, the audience here in Liverpool have been so supportive, so loud, and the gymnasts are coming in now, and the roar of the crowd is just sensational.
And James, it's obviously your debut on commentary here in Liverpool. How are you feeling? We're sure Katie's going to look after you.
Yeah, maybe not as nervous as when it was a gymnast. It's nice to be on the other side of the table for once. But yeah, really excited for some incredible gymnastics. There is World, Olympic, European, Commonwealth gold medalists here. So what more can you ask for?
Katie, what performances are you looking out for in particular in this competition? And maybe in those first 2 rotations, actually, where it's just the men performing, is there anything that you're really excited to see this afternoon?
There are so many gymnasts that I'm really excited to see here in the competition this afternoon. For the women, I am fascinated to see the comeback of Becky Downey. About this time last year, she was having 2 major shoulder surgeries. And as a specialist bar worker, obviously that's had a significant impact on her training in the last 12 months. So I can't wait to see what she's put together. But in these first couple of rotations, it's got to be Courtney Tulloch on the rings. He is the king of the rings. He'd scored a medal here in Liverpool when we had the World Championships here. So he's got some great calibre on that piece, and it's going to be a really exciting routine.
And James, of course, it's not been long since you yourself were out there on the floor. Tell us, what will these gymnasts be feeling as they make their way into the arena and getting ready to compete in front of this crowd?
I think now they'll probably be feeling the most nerves that they'll be feeling, waiting to come on. They're chomping at the bit, they've done the warm-up, they want to get out there and get it done. But I tell you what, when you step up onto that podium and you're waiting there in front of the apparatus, oddly enough, that's probably when they're at their most calm. They're ready, they've done the training. Today, they just need to enjoy it.
And James, you know Courtney very well. You trained with him for a very long time throughout your career. What are you looking forward to in particular to see from him today in his performances on the apparatus?
I think overall, for him to enjoy himself, he's just come off the back of a silver medal at a World Cup in Turkey. So for him, he knows he can do it. So go out, do his job and enjoy it.
And Katie, this is of course a huge event in the British gymnastics calendar, but actually it's just marking the start of a really exciting international gymnastics calendar. Can you tell us what's coming up for gymnastics fans to enjoy this year?
Yeah, 2026 is a huge year. We've got 2 major championships in the European Championships and of course the Commonwealth Games, which are being held in Glasgow this summer. So it's not just British titles on the line, but there's lots of gymnasts in this field of competitors who are chasing qualifying scores to try and get onto those Commonwealth teams, because that is going to be an outstanding event.
Yeah, and James, you yourself competed at the Commonwealth Games, the European Championships and the World Championships back in 2022. How much does strategy come into play here for a lot of these top gymnasts that are maybe going to have the opportunity to compete at 3 major championships in less than 6 months?
Yeah, I think for me it was always about pacing myself and trusting myself. I think when you've been in the game for a long time, you know exactly what you need, and trying not to panic and think, oh, I need to do more. Trust in what you've done, and again, enjoy the process, and what will be will be.
And of course, we can see that the lights have come up in the arena. The gymnasts are getting some touches, getting their warm-ups in. Katie, it's not long till this competition gets underway. Can you believe the 2026 British Gymnastics champs are here already?
I mean, the start of this year has gone so quickly. This is the culmination already of quite a busy season for a lot of these gymnasts. We've had the home nations competitions in England, Wales and Scotland, and most of these competitors will have taken part in at least one of those. Some using it as a critical competition to get scores for those Commonwealth spots, but lots of others using it as a warm-up. So this really is the culmination of that kind of pathway, and gymnasts will really be hoping to nail and deliver their best performances here today.
And James, can you tell us a little bit about maybe what was your favourite apparatus to compete here in Liverpool? And is that the same as the favourite apparatus you have in terms of watching as a fan from that commentary box?
Yeah, it's got to be the high bar for me. That is an absolutely nuts apparatus. You've got people flying through the air and trying to catch the bar again. So that one for me, that was always probably the most nerve-wracking for me. Terrifying when you're stood there waiting to do a routine, but it's the most exciting. There's nothing like it.
Well, before we came to chat to you guys, we chatted about how impressive Jonas Rushworth was at the English. James, he might be targeting another score above 80 in the all-around competition today. Can you tell us just how impressive hitting a mark like that is for an all-around gymnast?
Yeah, extremely impressive, and he's still a youngster in comparison to some of the other guys. Not to call the other guys old, but he's still a youngster, and he's got everything to play for. And I really love his attitude, because he just goes out there, he enjoys it, and he really shows off his best gymnastics. So it's all to play for him today.
Amazing. And James, you were a great all-rounder yourself. What do you think it is? What characteristics do great all-rounders have? And when you've been around some of the best all-arounders in the world, some of the Olympic champions, world champions, and you've been in that mix, is there anything in particular that stands out for you?
Again, I think it was pacing myself for me, and that means in training, in the competition, it's not over until it's over. I think in this very arena in 2022, as a team, we were in 8th place, and we managed to claw ourselves back to a bronze medal. And the same goes for being an all-arounder. You might have a mistake in the competition, but it's not over until it's over.
Amazing. Well, James, Katie, we're going to pass over to you now to take us all through the action in rotation 1. We can't wait. Enjoy it, and we'll speak to you guys soon.
Well, that certainly set the scene for this afternoon. You can see on the camera now, some of the competitions have already started, and that's because the gymnasts have different amount of warm-up times, don't they, depending on which apparatus it is that they're taking part on.
Absolutely. The parallel bars you'll have a little bit longer, just because people do their grip. They use syrup, they use chalk, and some other crazy stuff, some sugar water, whatever you like, maybe some Lucozade as well. But yeah, they'll have a little longer on there, and they'll be preparing themselves, mainly getting the most difficult skills done, just to settle themselves.
So we can see that Jonas Rushworth has already started his competition on the high bar. It's a tricky first piece to have, isn't it? And especially when you've got big gymnastics like that.
Absolutely. And he's just competed the Luke in there, which is a Kachev in the straight position with a full twist, one of the hardest skills to do on high bar. And he's going through okay, trying to keep it clean. You can see right there that skill finished in handstand, and that is exactly where you want to see it. He's moving quite well. Gearing up for the dismount now, preparing. He'll be trying to stick this, no steps or anything like that. To land on his feet, get the stick. Ooh. Not a bad landing at all. And a great first piece for Jonas.
Yeah, a fantastic first routine, and really quite a nerve-wracking piece to have as your first event of your all-round programme. I always think, though, these guys from Leeds are so lucky because there's always a really big group of them at these competitions, isn't it? And I suppose a bit like when you come to a World Championships and you're in a team final, whilst this is an individual competition, it must feel like you've got a really good team around you.
Absolutely. I mean, well, it looks like they travel in a pack, doesn't it? There's so many of them, but that is what you want. You know, you've got your team around you. Sometimes it is difficult when it's just you on the competition floor, but when you've got your, you know, not just your teammates, but your best friends there, that's what it's all about.
And Leeds really has turned into a high-performance centre for men's artistic gymnastics, hasn't it? There's world and European medalists among those ranks, and I can only imagine what the motivation, the competition, you know, how much the guys push each other in the gym when they're back home training.
Definitely, you can see it's kind of snowballed with Harry and Luke, and then, you know, success attracts success. So it's really, really nice to see, and you can tell they all bounce off each other.
Yeah, it really is a great dynamic up there. And it's not just the team of gymnasts there, but they've got a really experienced group of coaches as well. Obviously, Dave's kind of the leader of the pack. He's been there for a long time now. The likes of Tom as well, he can see ready to pop their next gymnast up on the bar. They really do give off the vibe that they've got an exceptional team up there in Leeds.
Absolutely. And they've been doing it for a long time. And the likes of Niall Wilson, who was a bit of a trailblazer, and you know, he came away with a bronze medal at the Rio Olympic Games, and you know, so the coaches know their stuff, and above all, they're really nice guys as well. So you can tell they have a good relationship between them and their gymnasts as well. Here we are on bar. Nice starting with a Kachev. Oh, didn't quite make it over there. And that's okay. That will be a whole mark deduction, unfortunately. But again, that's part of the gymnast's life and mindset. You have to get over those mistakes. You have to get back up on the bar and just keep going. Tom, his coach, probably giving him some words of wisdom there, which skills to repeat and, you know, what comes next. Just got to keep calm, get back on the bar, and act as if it didn't happen. It's lovely, smooth work. He's managed to settle himself nicely after that into the stoop stolder and a straddle stolder as well. And again, winding up for the dismount. Or the triple back somersault, unbelievable. That is one of the highest difficulty skills on the bar, so incredible that he got that to his feet.
A great finish there after a tough start to that high bar routine, but he's got to be pleased with that dismount, as you mentioned. Incredible difficulty and really great execution on that skill.
Here we go. Courtney Tulloch, one of the big guns, going up on rings. As I said earlier, he's just come back from Turkey, the World Cup in Turkey, with a silver medal. And he's ready to do it again, to try and make it gold. It's a massive strength skill to begin with there. The Azarian to top planche, and another one. This is every calisthenic man's dream. And he'll be looking to settle himself, to try and get himself into tomorrow's final as well. There'll be no medals on rings today. It's all to play for tomorrow. And he's looking very, very strong. Lovely. And that's a requirement to swing to handstand, so every gymnast must have that in their routine. And a huge dismount, triple back somersault, and unfortunately just sits it down there. But what a routine. The rest of it was squeaky clean.
Great reception from the crowd there. They know these gymnastic skills are incredibly difficult, so even when they don't quite go to plan, there's definitely some appreciation there. And you can see his coach on that dismount was a little bit disappointed, but crikey, the spatial awareness you need when you're doing 3 flips in the air and trying to get your feet landing on the floor cleanly, it's remarkable.
And I tell you, after all those strength skills, when you're out of breath, you know, your muscles aren't working the way you want them to anymore. So to throw a huge dismount like that, you know, that's something to be said about Courtney. But he's still got a huge amount of difficulty in that routine, so it wouldn't be a surprise if he still made the final. But there is a long way to go in this competition.
And I think we're going to be... And I think we're going to be staying here with the rings because we have Luke Whitehouse coming up next. Now, not the same kind of build as Courtney, but actually really quite good on the rings, Luke, isn't he? Yeah,
he is, you know, not your conventional build, and I mean that in his height. He's a little bit taller than other gymnasts, but as you've seen in his floor results, he's a 3-time European champion on the floor. And then for rings, he's got some strength to show. He's a very strong guy, as you'll see with his first few skills on the rings.
And really creating a bit of an all-round threat in the next couple of years to come, I'd have thought. As you mentioned, he's phenomenal on the floor, got some great skills on vault as well, and those two often go hand in hand. But he's really developing his routines and difficulty across all 6 of these apparatus.
Definitely, he showed his worth in Paris. You know, he was a key player in that team. And there he goes. You know, rings is a really difficult piece to be good on, especially as somebody that can deliver more than just that apparatus. You know, he's packing the difficulty here, 2 cross elements and a Honma to cross there. And he's clean. That's the thing I love about Luke. He's so clean. He swings well, and he's so measured in what he does. You can really trust him in a team environment. Swinging well. And he's gone big for the dismount. Another triple, but again, unfortunately, that just shows the difficulty of that dismount. He's sat it down there, unfortunately.
And whilst there are lots of titles on the line today for our all-around competitors, and obviously these guys really want to get into the finals tomorrow, for a lot of these really top-level gymnasts, this is just another marker in the calendar, isn't it? Really, their aspirations are to be peaking and performing at their absolute best when they do get to those European Championships or Commonwealth Games. So whilst for some people this is the peak of their competition season, for others this is the perfect platform to test out those routines, push the big skills to make sure they're ready for later down the line.
Absolutely. I think for the guys like Luke and Courtney, you'll be looking at the bigger picture, which are, you know, the Europeans, the Commonwealth Games and the World Championships at the end of the year. Those are the ones you'll be wanting to peak for, like you say.
And we mentioned just how many gymnasts there were here from Leeds Gymnastics Club. In fact, they've got so many that Luke's not in the same group as the rest of his teammates. He's had to be separated out to go onto another piece. So just shows the strength and depth they have at that club even more.
Exactly that. But an experienced hand like Luke, that won't shake him too much. He'll be locked in, he'll be ready to go, and his teammates are never far away in the arena. So if anything, he'll be hearing their screams from the other side.
So we're staying on the rings once again. This is Nicholas Rodriguez from Portsmouth Gymnastics Club. He's going to be using all of his powers of concentration there. Jake Jarman's just finished his floor routine and the crowd have gone absolutely nuts. So how difficult is that when you're mid-routine and the audience are going crazy?
Yeah, it is difficult to focus. I know, you know, people might say, oh, well, you sort of focused on your routine, but you can, with an audience like this, and there are a serious number in attendance, so it gets so loud, and at points you think it can't get any louder. So it's really important to remain focused, and it looks like he's doing exactly that on these rings. And a nice double back full twist and tuck position to finish. Slight hop, but he'll be happy with that. But it is great seeing, you know, you've got 2 ends of the spectrum. You've got people that are funded, that their sole job is to do gymnastics, and then you've got other people that have a full-time job. you know, and their passion is gymnastics, though, to have those guys in the same arena, you know, they're heroes just as much as the world champions and the European champions. You know, balancing gymnastics in a full-time job is no mean feat.
For sure. We've got quite a small number of senior men's gymnasts actually that are able to qualify to this competition, and just making it to Liverpool for a lot of these gymnasts is, you know, the icing on top of the cake. It's a very exciting event to be part of, and the show that British Gymnastics put on here, I mean, as we've mentioned, this is the venue that hosted the World Championships just a couple of years ago, and the atmosphere here at these British Championships is just as good as that. Swiftly moving over to the floor now. This is Kieran Rockett.
Absolutely. You can tell he's got the power, starting with a double somersault for the first tumble. Twisting well. And he seems to be under control for these landings, and that's what gymnasts are looking for. Any step on landing, you're giving tenths away to the judges. So any sticks that you can get, no movement on landing, that's all money in the bank. That's what I used to call it. Ooh. And that just shows the power. And it's hard in these environments to get that under control. They'll be slightly disappointed with that, but the rest of the routine was brilliant.
And it's a very springy floor here in Liverpool. It's a very high-quality floor, but also being on the podium sometimes gives you a little bit of extra oomph. I did hear a couple of the gymnasts yesterday saying because it's a new carpet, it's actually a bit slippy. So when you get a landing like that, it makes it even more difficult to control. Exactly that, and you throw nerves and everything else. And, you know, these guys have been waiting around all day as well, which for me always added to the nerves, because you're sort of stewing in it a little bit, you're chomping at the bit, waiting to get going. And then to sort of bring yourself under control is really quite difficult. Certainly is. Controlling those landings is difficult work. What would have been your piece of choice to start on in an all-round competition?
Oh, that's a tricky question. Does rest count? I think rings or vault was always a steady one. You know, when you're fresh, you've got the power, you've got the strength. So that was always a good one for me. I think the most difficult was probably pommel. I think trying to control the nerves, but you know, that comes with experience. At the end of the day, you have to compete, and learn, try different things. You're not gonna find the winning formula straight away. So, you know, you just explore. And at some point, you're going to have to start on your least favourite. So
I was about to say, as much as it's nice to have a favourite, you never get a choice, do you? You're bound by the competition programme. And floor is the fate for Theo Amaria Chana from Heathrow Gymnastics Club.
He's handling it well, but he did just go out the floor there. And again, that's power, first piece. But there will be a deduction for that. But that's a much better landing there. And that double somersault with the full twist. And a very nice stuck landing, giving nothing away to the judges. And gymnasts have to show a double somersault in their routine and twisting elements, forwards and backwards. So you've really got to pack in that difficulty. And that's nice. There will be a bonus for that connection, and another stick. He's managed to calm himself from his first tumble, which is really important. And a lovely final tumble. Again, gymnasts have to finish on a double somersault, and he opted for a double pike backwards somersault. And he seems pretty happy with that. Yeah, you can see he's got a big smile on his face. He's clearly delighted with that first routine, which I think might also wrap up this first rotation. So a great opening rotation of gymnastics. We've already seen world, European, Olympic medalists. It's certainly hotting up already here in Liverpool. Very exciting. It's hard not to commentate on everyone. Looking around the arena, and there's just such incredible gymnastics everywhere you look. And seeing that landing again, he actually did a really good job there. So the cream area of the carpet denotes where the gymnasts are trying to stay. And if they step out of the carpet onto the red area, if it's a single foot that steps out, actually a single body part, even if it's only a little finger, you get a 0.1 deduction.
But if it's more than 1, it's 0.3. And he could have easily kind of dragged that second foot into the red, but he obviously had very good awareness of exactly where he was and made sure he didn't take that extra step.
Absolutely, and knowing the code is all part of it. You've got to know where the deductions are. You've got to fight for every 10th, and that's exactly what Theo did. Just looking around the arena, it looks like there's quite a few people here, which is nice for a Saturday afternoon.
Yeah, it's really filled up, actually, which is exciting. I think there's going to be a lot of noise, a lot of cheering, and I'm sure when our female gymnasts come out in a rotation's time, the audience here in Liverpool are going to lift the roof off this place.
And currently in the top spot after our first apparatus from Huntingdon, Jake Jarman.
There we are. Jake Jarman in the top spot with a 14.55 on the floor. It's all to play for. It's 5 more apparatus.
Yeah, 14.55 for Jake Jarman after that first piece is a great score. And that's also going to draw a line in the sands. The likes of Luke Whitehouse, Harry Hepworth will be thinking, oh, 14.55. Fancy my chance at trying to beat that.
14.55 from Huntingdon Olympic, Jake Jarman.
OK, so we've had a great first rotation of gymnastics. Let's see what Sam and Sid think about that in the studio.
The action is officially underway in Liverpool, it's fair to say, Katie. Sam, there was so much gymnastics happening on the floor there. It's hard to keep up.
The level of gymnastics there, Sydney, in that first rotation was unbelievable. I think the big guns came out swinging. Jake Jarman setting the standard there on the floor. He is the world champion. You've also got some of the gymnasts on the vault. So Ramel Bailey-Robinson doing a great job, sitting there close to the top, and Joe Fraser. But on our apparatus that we were focusing on the rings and the high bar, Jonas did a great routine, managed to get through his very difficult Lucan skill on the high bar. And even with a fall from Luke Whitehouse and Courtney Tulloch on their very difficult triple back somersaults, they're still up there in the standings. So what a start to the competition.
Well, let's speak about those falls. We saw both Courtney and Luke sit down on their dismounts. This is, of course, only the first piece of apparatus in a 6 apparatus final. How important is it to get up, dust yourself off when you've had an error like that? We've got Courtney's routine up now.
Yeah, absolutely, Sydney. We heard James talk about this in commentary there with one of the routines. If you make a mistake, it really is about settling yourself down and focusing on the next skill and the next routine. Courtney here, his first few strength elements were absolutely perfect. And I can't stress enough just how difficult these moves are with the top planche and the Maltese. I'm really excited to see that Courtney and Luke have kept their triple back somersaults in their routines, following a code change in the rules of gymnastics that came into place at the end of last year. That's brilliant because it's a fan favorite skill and they love to see those big dismounts. But it really is a challenge to be able to balance the strength elements with the swing elements and then nail that dismount at the end when they're really tired at the end of these rings routines.
Well, let's talk about those changes in the code of points. We mentioned them last year, but the gymnasts used to have to do 10 elements in a routine. Now it's down to 8, and that's actually something that allows gymnasts like Courtney to continue fighting in the sport. He spoke to us last year about the fact that he might not have continued had that not changed. It's a great addition for him, isn't it?
Absolutely, Sydney. And to be honest, I had the same conversation 12 months on, which was yesterday with Max Whitlock, saying that because the code had changed from 10 elements in a routine down to 8, effectively that was a 20% reduction in the amount of gymnastics the gymnasts are going out to perform now. So he was able to adapt to this code quite easily, and Courtney said the same thing a year ago. Courtney just off the back of a silver medal at the World Cup in Antalya, so he is still one of the very best rings workers in the world.
Well, these now are some huge names in international gymnastics, and we heard the response they got when they were announced by this crowd. Courtney Tulloch, Jake Jarman, the crowd went wild, and they're household names now, these gymnasts, given the longevity of the careers and what they're allowed to go on and achieve. What kind of pressure does that add to their performance? Because it was so loud in here when they were announced onto the competition floor.
You're absolutely right, Sydney. I mean, the atmosphere in here is electric. But for these guys, you know, when you look at their careers, the likes of Jake Jarman, Courtney Tulloch, we're talking about gymnasts that have so many major championship medals. The experience they have, multiple Olympic Games, Commonwealth Games, European Championships. I'm sure that they're in a position in their career where all it does is spur them on and give them a massive boost. But for some of these younger gymnasts that maybe don't quite have that experience, it can be intimidating being in that atmosphere. But hopefully, all of the gymnasts will be supporting each other and they'll step it up a level today, which is what we've seen in that first rotation.
It absolutely is. We saw Sol Scott get his competition underway on the floor. He's an exciting talent from Huntington Gymnastics Club. He's someone to keep an eye out for, Sam.
Definitely, Sydney. He's made that step up from being a junior gymnast last year, having a lot of success at the Junior World Championships, and he's now transitioned into the senior ranks, already performing really well. Been to some World Cups, was out at the American Cup and put on a great performance there against the Olympic champion. So an amazing opportunity for these young gymnasts to get some great experience early on in this year, which is going to be such a stacked 2026 competition season.
Yep, you mentioned some of the titles that the likes of Courtney Tulloch and Jake Jarman have to their name. This season is only going to give them the opportunity to add to that tally. We're going to head back out onto the competition floor and pass you back over to Katie Foster and James Hall.
Thanks so much, guys. As you mentioned, the competition is hotting up already, and we can't wait to see what's going to be happening in this second rotation. I can see some massive vaults being warmed up, but really there are just superstars all around this arena already. We had the pleasure of watching Courtney on the rings in the first rotation, and he is warming up some seriously big gymnastics here on the vault.
Yeah, again, as I said earlier, it'll be important for athletes to warm up probably the skills that make them most nervous, you know, the elements that make them most nervous in their routine, just to get that final practice in and to get it fresh in their mind.
And Courtney, of course, is best known for his work on the rings. That's where he's got his world medals, where he's had his most success. But when you kind of put the picture together, put that jigsaw puzzle of a team that you're going to send to a Europeans, a Commonwealth Games, and Olympic Games in a couple of years' time, it's very difficult to make those teams as a one-event gymnast, isn't it? You really do need to have a few strings to your bow to go, selectors, pick me, I can give you scores on multiple apparatus. And he's pushing really hard to do that.
Exactly that, and I think it's important not to put all your eggs in one basket, as it were. You've got to cover yourself, just in case. And Courtney is competing on a few apparatus today that perhaps you wouldn't expect to see him on, such as the pommel horse, the parallel bars. So, you know, and he's got the difficulty. He's good enough, so why not? Why limit yourself to one piece?
Absolutely, and I think the men's field is just so competitive, not only in competitions like this, but when it does come to selection. I mean, I'm glad it's the guys that are sat just a little bit further down the table than we are that have got to make those decisions later in the year, because they're certainly not going to be easy choices.
Absolutely. Every year the depth gets, you know, well, deeper and deeper. It's unbelievable. And you've got people that you think are apparatus specialists, and somehow they pull another one out of the bag, and you think, it is unbelievable. And yeah, like you'd say, I wouldn't want to be the selectors. They've got a tough job.
Yeah, no, and we've obviously covered quite a few of the good guys already, but there's another superstar warming up on the parallel bars there. You know, casual world champion, just here in Liverpool.
Absolutely. And I was there when he got that medal, and honestly, it was so special. And I think everybody believed that he could do it, except Joe. Everybody except Joe. And when it came in, the emotion that he felt and that we felt as a team, it was unbelievable. I remember running down into the competition floor, and we put him on our shoulders and we were throwing him up in the air, and that was a really special moment.
Yeah, I remember seeing the photos and the video footage of that. You guys went absolutely ballistic, and for all the best reasons.
Absolutely, and you train with these guys. You know, their success is your success. It's incredible. So we'll see what he can do today.
And that is our first competition vault. You can see the judges have a light in front of them, so the gymnasts are looking out when they're stood at the end of the vault run or in the corner of the floor waiting to start. As soon as that light turns green, they've got 30 seconds to present to the judges, and then that routine has to commence.
Yeah, there is that element of pressure. When the green light comes on, perhaps you're not quite ready, or you need a few extra seconds, but Once it's on, you've got 30 seconds and you've got to go. Otherwise, it does incur a 3/10 penalty. So you've got to be ready.
Right, so we saw Courtney warming up some massive vaults. Let's see if he can put them to his feet here at competition time.
Here he goes. And he is a very powerful vaulter. It's not just strength, he's got the power as well. He should be going for a Dragolescu. And there it is, a little bit low on landing. Not quite sure if he touched the floor or not. And if he did, that will count as a fall, but hopefully he managed to keep his hands off.
Yeah, he did very well to rebound from that. As you say, it was very hard to see if the knee did go down. Possibly from this angle we'll have a bit of a better view. Ah, yeah, and it does look like the hands went down on the floor, so that is a significant deduction from the judges.
Yeah, and again, the tariff for the vault, a Dragolescu vault, which is a double somersault off of your hands with a half turn, is absolutely enormous. So the score might not be as low as people might think, but there still will be a 1-mark penalty for that. And the speed in which he rotates, even in slow motion, it looks fast. And there's a lot of force as you come down to it. It's important in training to do the repetitions to prepare your body for that in the event that the vault doesn't quite go the way you want it to.
Yeah, he wasn't far off a clean landing at all there. And these handspring vaults are more typical to see from the male gymnasts than the women. It just requires such strength, such power, and the block they have to go with those shoulders off the table to generate enough height to wrap those somersaults in, to have enough time to do the twist, is really quite remarkable.
Absolutely, and power, not something I had much of, so I struggled with vault a little bit, but somebody like Luke that we're about to see now, Luke Whitehouse, he does not struggle with vault. Very powerful. Current European champion on floor. See what he can deliver. Unfortunately, not his day on vault today. Looked a little bit slow in the run. Just couldn't quite get the height off the block, off the table. And unfortunately sat that down, which again will be a marked deduction.
Looked like he tucked a little bit early there. Was there, a bit more of a heel drive required, do you think?
Yeah, I think so. Maybe a little bit. And maybe could be anything, really. Might not have got his run up right, but it wasn't enough this time. But again, being an experienced head, he'll have to shake that off and prepare for his next apparatus.
And the gymnasts are pretty committed once they've initiated that vault run, aren't they? There's a deduction if you kind of decide your steps aren't quite right and you dodge off to the side. They can have an opportunity to have another go as long as they don't touch the springboard or the table. But realistically, at this level, and obviously with Luke's level of experience, that's not something you'd expect to happen.
No, exactly. Hopefully not. I think that's every gymnast's worst nightmare, is to get you running wrong on vault. And sometimes it's hard to make that snap decision where sometimes you just commit to the vault, or you do nothing and you get a 0. So it's really all or nothing on this piece of apparatus.
Yeah, it really is. And it's interesting, especially when you're doing a multiple somersault type vault. You really are committed, aren't you? I suppose if you're doing a twisting vault and you feel like your block's not quite right, or maybe you just, sense you haven't got the height, then possibly you can reduce the number of twists you're doing. But if you're doing a multiple somersault vault, you're all in.
Absolutely. And we've just seen there from Nicholas Rodriguez on the vault, on the replay, a straight Kasamatsu, that vault's called. And it's not necessarily playing it safe, but it's not as high a tariff as the double somersaults. But it's a much higher chance that you're going to land on your feet. It's Adam Steele getting ready to go on vault. And that's nice, clean work, the double twist and a nice landing. That they should reward him for that. Adam, an Irish gymnast as well. He's been around the block, Europeans, World Championships, and he's always performed well, always been a strong all-arounder. And life's changed for him a little bit recently. He's a dad, and trying to fit dad life and training in is no easy task, but to come here and to perform a vault like that is a testament to his hard work.
Yeah, there's definitely been a shift to carrying on gymnastics for longer, both within our men's and women's programme. And actually, there's quite a few parents out on the floor today, which must be such a difficult thing to balance. But incredible that our sport and the longevity of training and competing has adapted so that people can do that. It's amazing.
Absolutely. And I think the longer, the better. You know, if you're enjoying your career, why not have it go on for as long as you can?
For sure, it's not really something you can come back to later in life. So if you want to keep going while you're young, it's absolutely the time to do it.
Absolutely.
And we've got a very exciting performer coming up next on the high bar. This is Alex Yolshin-Cash, who's representing Notts Gymnastics Academy. They've already had a very successful weekend here with Zakane Fawzi becoming the under-18 champion just a couple of hours ago. And Alex, of course, had a fantastic 2025, went to the World Championships, made the pommel final, and I think placed 5th in the world on that apparatus.
And that's unbelievable in itself. You know, the landscape of the pommel horse at the moment it's through the roof. You'd be lucky to make a final with, I don't know, 15 on pommel. It's obscenely higher. The scores are massive. And to do that, and he's a young lad as well, he's got plenty of his career in front of him. But he's not just a pommel worker, he's getting ready to show us his skills on the high bar as well.
And Alex has got quite a different frame to some of the gymnasts we've seen earlier. He's tall, he's got long lines, and actually I really like the look of him on high bar. He's got really quite an elegant swing, and I think that sets him apart from some of the other competitors.
Yeah, he's very tidy, and hopefully we'll see that in this routine. He's straight into it. And this is quite common that the gymnasts start with this skill. It's called a squat half, and usually prepares you quite well for your routine. And now into the releases, to the Kovac, and it is a stretch, but he's managed to keep himself on the bar. And a catch, Evan. He's managed to calm himself down, and that's what it's all about, not to panic. And now into the Steinerman, which is always a crowd pleaser. Hear a lot of oohs and ahs with that one. And he's moving well. A little bit of a struggle out of that one. That's a really technical skill, not necessarily difficult, but technical. And the dismount, a double-double in the straight position. And a landing. He'll be happy just to have stayed on the bar with that first release.
Yeah, that Kovac definitely had a few of the coaches in the background there jumping.
And us in the commentary box.
Yeah, for sure. The guys wear handguards, though, don't they, when they're on the bars? And there's a little piece of dowel that sits at the top of them. And if you really are on your fingertips, sometimes that can save you bacon, can't it?
Definitely. A bit of a lifeline sometimes. I've had some scary ones.
OK, so we're checking out the pommel horse now. Jake Jarman, after a huge floor routine in rotation 1. Talk us through this one, James.
Yeah, and he's just started with the Stockleys there, the turns on the one handle, and now the Russians in between the handles. You can do that on the end of the horse, but it's a higher difficulty in the middle. And he's swinging well. He's got a really good position, which I know, being in the team with him, he's worked on that for a long time now, and it's paid dividends. Just look at him swing, and that the higher your circle, the easier the routine. You know, if you're slow, it's going to be difficult to get to the end and up into the handstand dismount. And he gets the full turn, which is an E value, which is as high as you can get for a dismount. So great work, Jake, adding to his all-around score.
Yeah, beautiful work there on the pommel. He holds his hips really, really flat and creates that lovely line as he's circling. You could see his coach in the background sort of swaying with him as he went as well. But a really cleanly executed routine, and certainly going to be a great contribution to his all-round total here today.
Definitely. He's not just a contender on the floor or the vault. I feel like he's a man that's got it all. And again, the coaches live it all with the gymnasts. You start leaning when they're going one way and then leaning the other way when they're going the other way. So you can tell it's a real team effort. But you should be happy with that.
And talking of exceptional floor workers, we've got a very exciting routine coming up next from that incredible Leeds Gymnastics Club. It's none other than Harry Hepworth.
It's a routine I've been looking forward to. One of the big guns. And Harry was a European medalist on the floor just last year. Silver medal. And he'll be hoping to get into tomorrow's final. And just watch this routine. He's a real powerhouse. Starts with double-double straight. Clean, nicely landed. And going for the connection here, the double twist into the double front. And just look at the height on that. So powerful. And a 3.5 twist. And he's really nailing those landings, making sure he's giving as little as possible to the judges. And here, these non-acrobatic elements, they're important as well. They're a requirement. They must be in the routine in some shape or form. Could be a handstand or it could be a planche like Harry's just shown us. He's moving well, got to stay calm. And a triple double. It's a double touch somersault with 3 twists. 4th tumble as well. It's unbelievable. And a triple twist this stick. I really feel as though he's enjoying this routine. And he'll be into the last couple now. Double double, double double, somersault to finish. Wow.
I mean, really just outrageous difficulty in that routine. The idea that he did that triple double in the middle of the routine, he leaves me speechless every time, honestly.
And a little shrug of the shoulders from him like it was nothing.
Yeah, he's always cool as a cucumber, isn't he? Makes it look absolutely effortless. And it's, you know, tumbles that most people are dreamed to have as their first tumble, and he's got an entire floor routine's worth of them.
Jacob Edwards on the parallel bars, moving well. He's with the Welsh team, so he'll be looking to compete later on in this year at the Commonwealth Games for Team Wales. Again, looking to put some scores in, and a nice high floating double pike dismount. He'll be happy with that.
Yeah, for a lot of these gymnasts who are hoping to book their places at the Commonwealth Games, this is a really important competition. A lot of the selection policies, this is one of the key events where they can kind of get their last opportunity to earn those scores and really, you know, say, selectors, pick me. So there's quite a lot of pressure on some of these routines today, even if people aren't necessarily in contention for a British medal or a British title.
Definitely, you'll be wanting to get that practice in a big arena like this as well, because this is probably the last time that they're going to be able to do that until the games themselves. So it's important to get that practice in, perform as best you can, prepare for it, so you can just replicate it later on in the year for Commonwealth Games.
And you mentioned earlier that you were present when our next man up on P-bars won his world title. So Joe's had a really good year of competition so far. He also had a bit of an accident on the high bar not that long ago. Caused himself a bit of a cut on the head, but he seems to be backfiring on all cylinders.
Yeah, I told him it was too late for the Harry Potter auditions, but yeah, but that's part of it. You know, been there, done that, and that is sort of the risk you sign up for as well as a gymnast. But you know, a testament to himself, his hard work. He just gets straight back up on the saddle, and here he is at the British Champs, ready to deliver again.
And one of the things I really like about Joe is that he doesn't seem to take himself too seriously. As I mentioned, had a bit of a fall off the high bar and caught his head. Not a nice accident at all, but, you know, shared the video on social media, was, you know, making a bit of a joke about it, really. And I suppose when you do have what could have been potentially quite a scary incident like that, being able to see the light side and, you know, crack on is what makes you an exceptional athlete and competitor.
Definitely. You've got to be able to shake it off and laugh about it, and the medical team do a great job. They sort of check you over and make sure that you're okay, and then after that, you've got to smile. But here he goes, ready to deliver. And this should be jam-packed with difficulty, starting with the Honma as a common start, but high difficulty. The undersummy with a half turn there, and one without a turn. Both, again, high-value skills. And the Tanaka element, that is... you don't really see many people doing that, but Joe is one of them, time and time again. And the one bar, long swing to one bar, having to fight a little bit there. And the Healy out of it, he's under control. Again, experience will do that to you. Just know what to do to set with yourself. And into the dismount. Oh, Hannah's stick. Lovely work. Lovely work. And he had a little bit of a shaky competition at the English Championships a couple of weeks ago, but again, he's said goodbye to that, put it behind him, and here he is, delivering a routine like that, world class.
And Coach Luke there looked absolutely delighted. He hit the floor, Luke threw his hands up in the air. He's definitely pleased with that performance.
And I would be too. There's a huge routine. And again, looking to get himself a spot in the final tomorrow. And the competition's not over yet, but that will probably get him inside.
I'd certainly like to think so. And I've noticed that he's got some strapping on his upper arms, and that's something quite a lot of the gymnasts choose to do on P-bars, isn't it?
Absolutely, but I did always used to make fun of him and say he had really soft skin on his underarms. I never used them. No, but the elements that he's throwing there, you just saw his arms take a beating. So using the protection, it protects your skin and gives you a little bit of padding when you come down on those bars.
Yeah, I don't blame him. I think I'd opt for the padding too. And much like the club at Leeds, there's plenty of City of Birmingham boys here on the competition floor too. But mentioning Leeds, here's Jonas Rushworth's floor from just a few moments ago.
Lovely start there. Again, keeping those landings under control. Not the most powerful of gymnasts, but he executes his tumbles very well, very cleanly. Keeping it simple, but making sure the landings like that are kept well under control. And this is one of those non-acrobatic elements that I was talking about, a lift to handstand. Slightly different from Harry's, a little bit lower in terms of difficulty, but essential. Every gymnast must do it. And again, moving smoothly. You get a bonus when you connect tumbles like that. So you receive a 1/10 bonus for that one. And finishing on a double pike, again, under control. Cool as you like. Well done, Jonas.
Yes, certainly a different style to what we saw from Harry with the, big multiple twisting, multiple somersaulting skills. But you can choose to build your difficulty in different ways, and Jonas is an excellent twister. And as you mentioned, you can accrue combination bonuses by stringing different moves together, so it really is a case of finding the set of skills that suit the gymnast best in order to create that big D score.
Definitely, and you have to be clever, you have to be creative, otherwise you sort of get left behind. If you want to be an all-arounder, you need to be really smart to find every 10th you possibly can to build a competitive routine and a competitive all-around, and that's what Jonas does.
So we have had 2 rotations of the men's competition, which means 2 things. One, the boys have got 4 pieces of apparatus left to go, and it also means it's time to welcome our women's artistic gymnasts into the arena.
More bodies in the arena, that's exciting. And again, I feel like there's more people trickling in through the doors, so it is going to get even louder with the women in here now.
It sure is, and there are some exceptional gymnasts in this women's competition. As Sydney mentioned earlier, we have all of the Paris Olympic team back on the floor, and it's going to be very exciting to see what they do here in Liverpool today.
Absolutely, and you see those youngsters in the crowd there, that's just who they're inspiring. It's amazing. It's an amazing opportunity for little kids to come to an enormous arena like this and see their heroes in action, and to one day be like them, compete with them.
Okay, so while the gymnasts are getting their warm-ups underway, we're going to check out a VT all about the one and only Courtney Tulloch.
Hi, I'm Courtney Tulloch. I'm from Essex. In my spare time, I like to watch films, play a bit of golf, and I'm a big football fan. I support Manchester United. I would describe myself as a really happy, smiley person. I like to motivate people, encourage people, lift them up when they're down, and an overall good team player, I would say. Ooh. My best friends would probably describe me as a bad loser. So something that always makes me smile. First thing that comes to my head would just be an episode of Mr. Bean or something with Rowan Atkinson in, because he's just hilarious. So if I didn't have any gymnastics training, my perfect day would be chilling on a nice hot beach. If it wasn't chilling on a beach, probably at a theme park. I'm Courtney Tulloch and I'm a gymnast for Great Britain.
Really nice to get to know Courtney Tulloch a little bit better there, and interesting actually to see him sort of happy and smiley and relaxed. I think sometimes He seems quite stoic in competition. He's quite a focused gymnast. So really nice to see that there's that other side to him too.
Absolutely. I believe everything he said. He is such a kind person. Although I will say the golf, Courtney, might need a little bit more work. But, you know, he's such a gentle guy and a fierce competitor. And you can see it. He's just, as he walks around the arena, that stoic demeanour is just ready to go, ready to deliver. What a guy.
And actually being able to switch it on but also relax in the moments when you get the opportunity is a really important element of balance that these guys need to have, because you cannot be focused and on it all the time. It would just be exhausting, wouldn't it? So being able to switch it on when you need to and have that game face ready to go, but also being able to relax and enjoy is such an important factor.
Definitely, and I learned a lot from Courtney, actually. In competitions, I was always, I think in my younger days, quite highly strung. I really wanted the competition to go well, and, you know, I could hardly enjoy it. But, you know, with Courtney around, he's always laughing, cracking jokes. And it's important. It's important to do that. Otherwise, you're not going to enjoy your experience. So I learned a lot from him, learned to loosen up, and was fortunate enough to train with him as well for 13 years, which was, it was lovely. And he's a really, really brilliant man.
Very nice to know that we can get to know these gymnasts a little bit better. And I'm sure they'll have been meeting and greeting lots of fans over the course of the weekend as well, of course. Lots of these people in the audience will be seeking autographs, and they'll have, I've seen so many gymnasts already that have got, you know, hoodies that are getting signed by everybody. And it's a really cool opportunity, if you do come to these British Championships, to get to meet some of your heroes and idols and all those people that really inspire you.
And definitely, that's what it's all about. And all of these guys here, you know, they're happy to stop, take a photo. You know, anybody that's listening or watching, approach them. They are the nicest guys in the world, and they'll be happy to sign and inspire.
Yeah, I've got no doubt of that at all. I had a junior gymnast competing here yesterday, and because someone spotted she had a lanyard, she got asked for her first autograph yesterday, and I think that made her day.
Yeah. Nobody's safe here from the autographs.
When we get our first sneak peek at Becky Downey, who'll be making her return to competition. Not your best draw to get drawn on beam first, but I'm sure she'll be taking in her stride, and she's got lots of experience.
Yeah, it's like the pommel equivalent, isn't it? You know, doing a routine on a, what is it, 4 inches wide?
Yeah, 4 inches, 10 centimetres. Less wide than your iPhone, so imagine having to do all these flips, leaps and tricks on something that skinny. Of course, this is Ruby Evans just taking her touch warm-up now. We can see Liv Brill there, who's recently come into position as the head national coach for Wales. She's another one of these coaches that's got a tough selection process to undertake. The Welsh Commonwealth team, certainly for the girls, is going to be an incredibly challenging selection. There's just so many people in the mix, and they're going to be pushing and contending for team titles and apparatus medals up in Scotland in the summer.
Definitely, there's some serious depth around here, which is exciting. That's exciting for the future of gymnastics in Britain. You know, that's what you need. You can't just have the guys that are there now. You need to ensure the future of gymnastics in Britain. And I think the programmes we have do that quite well.
And talking of gymnastics superstars, just taking a look now at Max Whitlock, who seems to be chilling out before this next routine. He's a man of routine, isn't he? Absolutely,
yeah. He likes his routine, like you say. He does things his specific way, and, you know, rightly so. Look where it's got him. And he looks extremely relaxed, as if he was on a beach somewhere sunbathing. But wait till he gets on his apparatus, on the parallel bars, and we'll see what he's got in store. I believe he's thrown in some upgrades, so that should be exciting.
Very exciting, as we get our first glimpse of Abby Martin from South Devon Gymnastics Club. Of course, had a absolutely tremendous back end of the year last year. She wasn't here at these British Championships and had quite a slow recovery from an injury, which I know she found really challenging and frustrating. I think as a young senior gymnast experiencing a reasonably long-term injury was a new experience for her, but I'm sure a very valuable one that she'll benefit from in the future.
Definitely.
And it looks like competition is getting underway as we join Ellie Lewis on the beam. She had a very ambitious mount there, and one that attracts a lot of difficulty value, but of course with high difficulty comes high risk. Oh, and off the beam again. Right, Ellie really needs to press the reset button here. It's a very tall order starting your competition on the beam, but the important thing is that when you do have a mistake like that, you can't let it affect the rest of your routine. So hopefully she's taken a deep breath, had a little word with herself, and can concentrate on the skills that are still to come. Oh, and it is not Ellie's day here. Off again on the free cartwheel.
And as a coach, how important is it to press that reset button for yourself in competition when your athlete has had a couple falls on one apparatus?
Oh, massively so. I think the gymnasts absolutely feed off the energy that their coach gives. And, you know, when you come off the podium having had a routine that has not gone to plan, I think my words are always, you know, take 60 seconds, be frustrated, that's okay. It shows that you care about your performance. But you know what? You've still got 3 apparatus left to go. So be grumpy for 60 seconds and then we've got to go again.
Have some jelly babies. That was something I always kept in my bag. A little pick-me-up. Have a jelly baby.
That is true.
Feel good about yourself and then move on.
If all else fails, try some sugar, yeah. And finishing this routine with a quiet full twist. Oh, and Ellie keen to get off the podium there. Certainly not the start she wanted. A difficult routine there on the beam. And this was the mount that she started with. The layout mount attracts a very high start value. But unfortunately, when you come off the beam, and I really enjoy my gymnasts having quite a steady mount. I think it's really important you can get on the apparatus, feel calm and confident. And yes, that attracts a lot of difficulty value, but also coming off the first skill is not a fun way to start.
It is that risk versus reward, though, isn't it? You know, do you want to contend for a final or a medal? You know, what is it you want to go for? And sometimes it pays off, but sometimes it doesn't.
And we're heading over to the P-bars now. We've just got to know Courtney Tulloch a little bit better. And we're about to learn all about his P-bars routine.
Starting with the undersummit, not as conventional as most others. And a lovely pike double somersault to his upper arms. Again, wearing those pads on his arms to protect himself, and another double somersault. And you can see it's quite heavy hitting on the arms. And another one, but forwards this time. He's really packing in the difficulty. And as we said earlier, he's not just a rings guy. He's a P-bar guy as well, a man of many talents. And for the dismount, a nice double pike. He's been known to do a double somersault with a full twist, which is massive difficulty, but this time opted for safety, and it's the opportunity tomorrow to get in the final and potentially get himself another selection score ready for Commonwealth Games and Europeans later this year.
Great to see the camaraderie from the other coaches and gymnasts as the guides come off the podium too. I always think that's a really nice thing about the men's programme. The senior gymnasts especially will have been training and competing with a lot of these guys on the competition floor for, you know, maybe up to a decade at this point. And they really do just want the best for each other.
Definitely, like I said earlier, it's, you know, their success is your success as well. You train with them, they become a big part of your life. So it's always nice to see them do well, absolutely. But that was a great routine from Courtney. Warming up the P-bars for Max Whitlock. Ready to go.
And this really is a busy arena now. There's so much gymnastics going on. It's
all kicking off.
And you can see just how close together the apparatus are there. You can see Lottie Smith just in the corner of the screen is going through her floor routine, whilst Max is preparing the P-bars. And this is one of those moments that you need to have tunnel vision to be able to focus on what you're doing and not let the noise of the arena, the sound of the floor music, the oohs and ahs of the crowd get in your way.
Exactly that. And I think when you're a younger gymnast as well, competing in these arenas, you know, you can see Max competing in the background. You don't want to be stood there waiting to go and you get distracted by Max. You need to focus on your routine. So, you know, it's a true test. Just see him preparing the bars there, using a mixture of syrup and chalk and a little bit of water as well, and that just helps with the grip. Preparing himself. You'll see him use that end where he goes from handstand underneath the bars and then ends up somewhere in the middle. So you want to get that grip right. If there's too much syrup, you'll be slipping, and if there's not enough, you won't have the grip you need.
How difficult is it when you're following a gymnast who likes the grip on the P-bars quite different to you? Does that happen often?
Just don't go behind Joe Fraser. The worst grip in the world, but it works for him. And that's something you have to deal with. You know, we use sandpaper as well to sort of reset the bars, as it were. You sand off the previous grip and then prepare it just as you like it. And here he goes, saluting the judges to signify the beginning of his routine. And again, like Courtney, starts with the undersummit and the long swing. Very clean, keeps it simple. Into the tip L. And into the swing, double back somersault. You realise that Max hasn't got any armbands on. Into just a fall on the Makuts there. That was a new skill for Max. Again, risk versus reward. He's going for broke out there to show his value, not just on the pommel horse, but the parallel bars as well. And you haven't got long to reset yourself. You've only got 30 seconds if you have a fall. So it's important to get back on. And that skill won't count, so he can either do it again or he can just move on. But if he moves on, he'll be slightly lower in his difficulty. He's opted to move on. He's going for the straddle front somersault to upper arms. Again, nice clean work. Not necessarily keeping it simple, but not the highest difficulty in the world. And you've got to watch out for those hand movements in the handstand work. And a nice dismount. Unfortunately, a fall in the middle of the routine, but composed himself, finished it strongly. So well done, Max.
And you can see he looks a little bit frustrated there, but as you mentioned, he is putting some new work out today. And for the likes of, you know, three-time Olympic champion Max Whitlock, he can afford to do that, can't he? It's not, you know, going to have any reflection on what the rest of his year looks like to have made that mistake today. You've got to be bold and you've got to put that new work out at some point.
Exactly that. And as you said before, it's, you know, you've got to look at the bigger picture. He's going for the Commonwealth Games or the Europeans and the World Championships, so bigger picture.
So we're going to take a look now at Alia Leet from Heathrow on beam. She, of course, was our British all-around champion last year, and this really is a specialist piece of apparatus for Alia. She uses those ring positions in her leaps really effectively. They're such a difficult skill to get credited, and most gymnasts don't have them as an optional in their arsenal. But Alia uses them to great effect. And doing very well with the squat spin. I know a few of the gymnasts here this weekend have had a bit of a challenge spinning on that beam, in the same way, I suppose, that the male gymnast might choose to change the grip on the bars, applying chalk and honey. Sometimes the beam can feel different too. You can see that Alia opts to have a spin sock, but some gymnasts, even with the socks on this weekend, have struggled. But certainly no struggle there in the acrobatic series. All of the gymnasts have to attempt to show an acrobatic series, which includes at least one somersault, in order to earn half a mark in their difficulty score. And Alia choosing to do additional skills racks up some extra bonus points, which is all going to contribute to a fantastic beam score here. So just the dismount to go. You can see her squaring up really strongly for the round off. Oh, and did very well to keep that on her feet. A 2.5 twist. A D difficulty value is what the women's gymnasts are striving to do to get that 0.2 dismount bonus. So she'll no doubt be happy to have a clean start on the beam. A great way to start the defence of her title.
I was going to say, she's got all that pressure, obviously being defending champion, and to start on a piece like beam, that was probably her worst nightmare coming into this, but I mean, she handled it pretty well.
She did, and actually she really is somewhat of a beam specialist. She's an exceptional performer on this event, but she hasn't had the best 12 months in terms of delivering in the moment. So she can be an exceptional beam worker, but actually the fight she showed in that routine probably does her more good almost than the score. Because the selectors, yes, they're looking for high scores, yes, they want to contribute to that team total, but what you really need is someone that can compete and can deliver under pressure. Stick with beam, and the return to competition for Becky Downey. Becky spent quite a few years trying to decide on which acro series to use on the beam. And a really good effort there. Not a flicker on the free cartwheel layout. Attracts a 0.2 bonus, that acro series alone. And cleanly through the triple series with her leap. So she's racking up the bonus points as she makes her way through this routine. And might have looked to add another skill on the end of that free walkover, but making a very sensible decision to keep it clean and steady. Becky looking beautiful here today in the red, white and blue. Oh, and just a bobble on her side, Sumi. Now, interestingly, that's the skill she fell on a few weeks ago at the English Championships. And not a skill that she usually struggles with, but I don't know if it's because a little bit later in the routine, you've got to keep concentration for that whole minute and a half while you're going through these routines. And at least she managed to keep it on the beam today. I'm sure she'll be frustrated to have such a big wobble, but equally delighted to have kept it on the apparatus. Just the dismount to go. Becky currently opting for the cartwheel into the 1.5 twist and a clean performance. I'm sure she'll be delighted to have started her competition off with a clean routine.
Absolutely. And again, it shows her experience. But it's not uncommon, you know, it doesn't matter how much experience you've got, but when you've made a mistake on something and then the next competition you kind of make the same mistake on the same thing, sometimes it plays on your mind and it's hard to get that out.
It certainly can. And it looks like now we get our first glimpse of Ruby Evans. Of course, she was world floor silver medalist in 2025, but she can also deliver some beautiful gymnastics here on the beam. All of the gymnasts have to show some work low to the beam, getting their leotard to touch the apparatus, and Ruby choosing to do that nice and early, getting it out of the way, and smoothly through the double wolf turn. That's a D difficulty rated skill, so it adds 0.4 to her start value. Oh, and moving steadily through the leap series. That could attract a little bit of a rhythm deduction from the judges. They really do want to see a nice, smooth, continuous movement in these connections. And slightly hesitant on the change half. So it's a very difficult skill, another D difficulty rating. And the judges will have to decide whether she got her feet all the way round. Oh, and beautifully through the triple series there. So the flick layout gets a little triple series bonus. And another double spin. She's racking up the difficulty score nicely, but could do with just moving a little bit more smoothly. And just taking little wobbles after quite a few of these. A little bit of a concentration pause, and certainly a few of these wobbles will be adding up. She's into her last 10 seconds now. The buzzer has sounded, so it's time to dismount the apparatus. And doing so in the nick of time with a tidy double twist. So a routine not without its wobbles, but another clean start to this all-around campaign.
Definitely, and beam light pom was one of those pieces where it's not uncommon to have those wobbles. So you'll know the routines that will be rewarded when they look absolutely solid throughout.
For sure, and it's an interesting thing when you start to compare routines and scores. So Ruby's obviously stayed on the apparatus there, but I'd say she probably had maybe 3 or 4 wobbles that the judges could take 0.3 for. So sometimes, even though you've stayed on the apparatus, those little mistakes throughout the routine really can add up. And that's a great camera angle, isn't it? You can really understand the scale of the venue and how much the gymnasts are kind of in the spotlight and raised up on this stage at the competition.
Definitely, you can see the crowd absolutely packed out. Oh, is that some jelly babies I see there?
Oh, I was just thinking that, actually.
I told you.
You've got to keep the energy up. It's a long competition.
Definitely got to pace yourself.
Okay, we're going to head back over to our men's competition now, taking a look at Luke Whitehouse on the P-bars.
Again, like Courtney and Max, starting with the undersummy, cleanly into the long swing. And an undersummy into a somersault, less conventional, but high reward. He's performing it well. To the straddle front somersault, D value. Into the Healy. And He's just finishing a little bit short there, so there'll be a small deduction. But he's looking to get it back on the dismount, which I think he's done. Small hop. That was an on and off routine that got everything done quick. Sometimes gymnasts engineer their routines to be able to move through it quickly. And I think that's exactly what Luke's done. Get it over with, save the energy. Got a long way to go, so you've got to be smart with the construction of those routines.
Yeah, it really is a science, isn't it, putting these routines together? As we mentioned earlier, the guys now only having 8 skills in their routine. You've got to be really clever about what elements you put in, what combinations you're going to use to make sure you're super efficient with that start value. Moving over to our first look at the women's floor competition now. We've got Grace Davies from Robin Hood. Grace has been a member of the GB squad for a number of years. She's been a regular throughout both her junior and senior career. Now, she didn't compete on floor just a few weeks ago at the English Championships as she was recovering from an injury, but she really can be a powerful athlete on this piece of apparatus and demonstrating that quality beautifully with her first tumble with a huge double straight somersault. You can see she's focusing as she gets ready for this second big tumble. Oh, fantastic combination. Brilliant twisting, walking out into that double pike somersault. Cleanly through the split jump full. We'll see a lot of the gymnasts using that today, adding another C element. That means it's worth 0.3 to them and their difficulty score. An element of floor that Grace has really worked hard on is her artistry. And I think this sort of powerful, slower pace of the music really helps her to do that. Artistry playing such a big part in floor scores these days. The gymnasts really have to choose a piece of music that they can express strongly to. And wowee, that was a great finish with the double back somersault. You wouldn't have thought just a couple of weeks ago she wasn't able to compete on the floor. But a fantastic routine there with some big, powerful tumbling. And it'll be very interesting to see where that puts her in the floor standings so far.
Yeah, Grace really nailing those landings. And injuries are a part of it. That is a part of the sport. It's almost impossible to go your whole way through your career without some kind of little injury. And sometimes you have to manage those. And you can see her left knee is taped there. And that's all part of the management. Doesn't mean that anything's particularly wrong. Might just be a little bit of support.
Yeah, and Coach Gemma there from Robin Hood has led the elite programme there for some time. They've got a great group of senior women there working at this British standard. And Grace also looking very sparkly in her leotard. A lot of the gymnasts choose to have a special leotard at these events. I don't know if it's quite the same for the guys as it is for the girls. But the Believe leotard she's gone for is certainly shining bright on the competition floor.
I don't know, Max might look all right in one of them, don't you think?
I don't know, I think you guys could use some more rhinestones.
Yeah, I think so. Bit of diamante, I don't know.
Yeah, we use it to dazzle the judges, you know.
Yeah.
They miss the odd mistake when you're sparkling so brightly.
She seems happy. Maybe in a little rush to get ready for the next piece. There is always that element. There's no time to relax. Sort of finish your routine. You're thinking about the next one already, so it's important to be prepared.
Yeah, it's a very fast-paced competition here at the British Championships. Over the last couple of days with the junior competitions, the girls have enjoyed rest rotations. So they've kind of done a couple of pieces, then had a little break, and then a couple more pieces and a little break again after that. But here in the final round of our senior women's all-around competition, it's 4 pieces back-to-back. And you really need to know exactly where you're going next and what you need to do to prepare for that next event.
See Alex Niscovani just preparing the bars there. Again, using signature combination of syrup and chalk. Got to get that right. And I think that's one of the benefits of going up a little bit later in the running order, is that you have a little bit more time to prepare the bars while the judges are judging the previous routine. Sometimes when you're first up, it can be almost no time at all. So sometimes it's a little bit of a blessing to go a little bit later on.
And I believe he's going to be the final competitor in this rotation, so it's going to be all eyes on him.
Pressure of the crowd. Everybody's watching, all eyes on you. But hopefully it can just be him and that apparatus. That's where he's got to go to in his head. He's got a job to do. You just have to deliver. Coach Anthony Wise, he is experienced. He's been around the world and has many gymnasts. George, who just picked up a medal in the under-18s earlier this afternoon.
He's been an exceptionally busy coach this weekend, hasn't he? They've got gymnasts in almost every age group and working at the very highest level.
Here we go. Let's go, Alex. Nice clean work, the undersummy half. Undersummy a little bit short from handstand, but he's moving well. And again, you have to pace yourself. Everybody's watching. You're the last person, but just relax. There's no time limit. Into the Makuts, and that was lovely, well executed. Same skill that Max didn't quite manage. And these skills here are a little bit more common. And into the dismount. Fortunately, just finished a little bit low. Looked as though his knees touched down, which will be a whole mark deduction. But the rest was clean, so he did the best he could possibly do.
So frustrating when you get the whole way through that routine and it's just the dismount that has the difficulty there at the end.
A bit soul destroying, really. But you know, as long as you ensure yourself with the rest of the routine, you try and minimise the hand movements, any extra movements, any leg bends or toe points. And look how clean his work is. This into the under somersault with a half turn, finishes in handstand. And really clean lines here. Straight up, there's no leg bends, there's no flicker of his feet. And he just looks very tidy. And this is the dismount again. It looked like his arm buckled a little bit on the swing down, just as he came off. You can see him holding his elbow there. So it looks as though he just flickered on that arm. A little bit disappointing. But again, you've got to shake it off and move on.
So as the gymnasts are on the move, we're going to throw it back to the studio where I think Sam and Sid have got some special guests.
That's right, Katie. We've got some very special guests in the studio with us. Another jam-packed rotation from top to bottom with the introduction of the women's all-around competition. What a great start to the women's competition, Sid.
It was firecracker from the beginning, and two people that are going to help us decipher it all are fan favourites, Olympic and world medalists, Jessica and Jennifer Gadarova. Thank you for joining us both. Jess, how are you finding your time here in Liverpool?
Oh, it's always great to be back in Liverpool. It holds so many memories and it's always a joy to be here.
And Jen, what was it like walking out into an arena like this when you previously competed at the British Championships? How will those gymnasts have felt getting ready to perform their first apparatus and first routines?
It's always nerve-wracking standing in the back gym waiting to go out, but as soon as the lights go off and you hear your name, everyone's shouting in the crowd, it just gives you that buzz and that energy just to go out there and perform your best.
And you two have competed and trained with a lot of the names that we have out here on the floor today. What will they be feeling right now? Who are you excited to see go up on these next few pieces of apparatus?
So there's a bunch of gymnasts. We've got Ruby Evans, Ali Ellie, Ruby Stacey, Alice Kinsella, Georgia May Fenton. There's so many names, Abby Martin. There's so many names to name out, but we're so excited to watch them perform, and we know how much they've been working in training, so I just wish them the best and go out there and enjoy every moment.
Well, it's going to be a really tight competition, isn't it, Jen? It's hard to pick at the moment who might hit the title.
Yeah, like you said, it's going to be very difficult to see who's going to take the title. I think it just depends on how well they perform, if they stay on, if they're not. I just want them to do their best, and it's anyone's to take.
And Jess, you were a brilliant all-rounder yourself. What was your favourite apparatus to start on in an all-around competition? And maybe which was the apparatus you wanted to avoid starting on?
So it's always nice to start Olympic order, because then you can finish on the floor and really give that all your energy and then finish with the crowd screaming your name. But sometimes I do like to start on bars just to get it out the way.
We'll take that. Sometimes tactics play into mind. I respect that decision. And Jen, We've seen a lot of team dynamics come into play already this competition. Gymnasts aren't necessarily going around with their clubs, they're going around with a mix of clubs, mix of coaches. What's that camaraderie like on the floor? Are you chatting to each other? Are different coaches chatting to you?
I think because we've all grown up like in the same community and we're all going through the same thing, it's all just love and support on the competition floor, and everyone rooting for each other, supporting as much as we can, because at the end of the day you are competing by yourself, so having that support on the sidelines is always helpful.
And before she went up on the beam, we could see Becky Downey really focused, headphones in, getting herself ready to compete. Jess, how did you like to prepare for a big competition like this?
For me, I like to put myself away from everyone, like go hide in my little corner and then just go through my routines, close my eyes, do a little movements, and then come back and I'm ready.
Amazing. And Jennifer, can you tell us a little bit about what your mental routine was like to compete on an apparatus like the beam? We've seen that first rotation, some amazing beam performances, but that apparatus in particular, to compete in a high-pressured situation, can be really nerve-wracking. What kind of mind frame did you like to get yourself in to perform on that apparatus?
I think with that, you have to get in a really calm and focused mind frame, because obviously it's such an intense piece without loads of people realising. Obviously, it's not intense like physically, but really in the mental game it's really hard, because you're balancing and you're flipping on such a small piece of apparatus. Any like slight movement, you can just be completely off. So it takes a lot of mental focus, and definitely on the sidelines we all go through our routines, our skills, and then just in the moment, especially for myself, it's just in my head I think, okay, one each skill as it comes, don't get ahead of myself, don't get complacent, and just think like it's another training session at the end of the day. You do all this training and you compete in the same routines, so just to get in that calm mindset, just think it's another training session.
Well, girls, we're gutted that you're not here competing this weekend, but we are very excited that you can help us talk through some routines with all of your expertise. We're going to take a look at Becky Downey's beam routine that she's just competed. It really was quite an impressive start from Becky. Talk us through it.
Yeah, so she starts off with the changing half mount. It's quite difficult. Obviously, you've got to get the connections and the bonuses there. She then does a bit of dance because that's required for a beam routine. There she goes into the cartwheel layout, and she does that a great job. Obviously, with the beam routine, you have the dynamic skills, but you also include some artistry as well. There she does a change leg into split jump, half into a straddle jump. There's her leap series for the beam. Slight wobble there, but a very solid through walkover.
Yeah, it was an amazing performance there on the balance beam by Becky Downey. I'm so excited to see these athletes compete on the rest of the free rotations for the women and the free for the men, as we take it into the important rotations where the medals are going to be decided. We're going to pass over to the commentary team, Katie and James, to take us away with the rest of the action.
Thank you so much, guys. Competition is already back underway here in the arena.
Plenty of action left. We're only at the halfway mark now. Just over.
And let's see where we're going to find ourselves next. There's just an incredibly rich selection of routines going on right now. Jake Jarman's about to go on the vault. We've got Ruby Stacey on the floor. You can just about see him from this wide angle. World champion Jake Jarman.
Oh, and he's done his 3.5 twists. You might have been able to see it from that camera angle, but that is his famous vault. There's not many people in the world that can do that, and he does it so well. So well. So he'll be happy with that.
You can see Frank Stone having just dismounted the beam there. She was our 2025 British beam champion. So there really is action going on all around the arena.
Jake just getting ready for his second vault. Having a little rest, putting some syrup on his hands just to get that grip on the vault.
So where are we heading next? Well, we're going to see the second vault for Jake Jarman.
Here he goes, and you can see there just doing some movements, visualizing the vault, getting it ready. It's important that your body's ready, but also your mind as well.
And Jake really is an exceptionally special athlete on this piece of apparatus. He's obviously got speed, he's got power, he's got incredible twisting ability, but also just the most bonkers good air awareness of anyone I think I've ever seen.
Absolutely, he's got no limits to his power. And you can see it. He knows exactly where he is in the air. And he's a very, very skilled vaulter. And we're about to see his second vault now. And it should, if I'm correct, be a Dragolescu that we've seen before in this competition. And as a second vault, it's not easy. And there it is, very clean in the air. I think I even saw his toes pointed. A difficult thing to do. A little bit low on the landing, and he came out of the lines there, stepped onto the red, which will be a small deduction.
As we mentioned earlier, though, that vault attracts such a high difficulty score. Minor mistakes like that on the landing will still equate to a great score overall.
He'll be happy with that, definitely. And there he goes. Look at that in the air. Knees close together. Yeah, that would be a 10th deduction, stepping onto that red there.
And he was still just turning ever so slightly, wasn't he, as he made that landing. You can see he kicked out, but that right foot just edging so close to being the whole way round.
Definitely, and if the judges catch that he's a little bit late on his landing, on his turn rather, there will be a slight deduction.
And there's a fantastic standard of vaulting going on at the women's end of our vault runway as well. This is Emily Roper. She is a highly sought-after candidate for the Welsh Commonwealth team this year. Emily and her sister Abby are both gymnasts at Piper's Vale Gymnastics Club. Abby, unfortunately, was feeling a little bit sore today, so I believe she's withdrawn from the competition. But Emily's still here doing her thing.
And that's a decision you have to make as well, isn't it? You know, if you're not quite well enough to compete, I know it's tempting to push yourself in an environment like this, arena like this, but if something's not quite right, it's not worth the risk. You know, look, health comes first, so you've got to look after yourself.
For sure, and with exciting international assignments coming up later in the year, I'm sure she'll be looking after herself, making sure that Commonwealth Games team is still an option for her. As we watch on her second vault, this time using the traditional Yurchenko entry, a beautiful full twist, a slight hop back on the landing, but she'll be hoping for a big score around the 13s, I'd say, for that vault. A very, very tidy routine indeed.
And the judges, when a gymnast does 2 vaults, the judges will judge both individually, but then take an average of both of them. If you're hoping to qualify for a vault final tomorrow, you'll need 2 vaults.
And Emily taking advantage of the bonus that is afforded to the women if your vaults have somersaults which rotate in different directions. So her first vault was the Yurchenko half-on, which meant that her second flight was a forward rotation, and that more traditional Yurchenko entry, of course, is a backward somersault off the table. So wherever the average of those 2 scores is, she will attract a 0.2 bonus on top of that, which, of course, is a very nice bonus to have on top of your vault score. So a momentary lull in the arena just now, as the judges are all busily working out some scores. But we are going to be crossing over to the rings, where Jonas Rushworth is patiently waiting to take to the apparatus.
There he is, looking cool. But you can tell, you can always see a gymnast pacing up and down. It just can't quite stay still. A little bit of the nerves, trying to control them. And if you stay still, you get cold as well, so it's important to keep moving. Here he is, stepping up to the mat, ready to go.
Now, I think it's fair to say he's got quite a different body type to, like, Courtney Tulloch, for example, who we know for being so exceptional on the rings. Does that mean we'll see a bit of a different style of routine, different skill selection here?
Yeah, I think he'll utilise his swinging elements more than his strength elements. But again, he needs to stay tidy. If the difficulty's down through a lack of strength, then he'll need to be as clean as possible. Starts with the Honma. Tidy work so far. Into the Yamawaki, into the Jonassen, and a swing to handstand. Again, I mentioned earlier, every gymnast must swing to handstand as a requirement, and he's done it, and he's moving very well. A slight wobble there, trying to bring the handstand under control. Just a fall there on the double somersault with the double twist. more of a common dismount, but struggled to bring it under control this time.
And lots of these gymnasts today seeming to be having a bit of difficulty on these rings dismounts.
Yeah, I think when you come to an arena like this, and you know, I know it sounds crazy, but the ceiling's so tall, the mats are white, you know, there's so much space around you. When you're used to training in your gym at home, which, well, definitely isn't this big, you know, that can really throw you off. And when you're upside down on the rings, you know, it's just an abyss above you, and it's really hard to sort of get your spatial awareness right, as we saw on Jonas's dismount here.
Yeah, it's a really interesting, different aspect, getting the visual right in the competition arena compared to your home gym. Not something that everyone would have thought of.
The rest of the routine was clean, so...
Okay, so next up we're going to be taking a look back at Harry Hepworth's rings routine. Of course, he's quite an exceptional performer here on the rings, has challenged the likes of Courtney Tulloch in the past in competition.
Absolutely, he was English champion a couple of weeks ago. 14.6, I believe his score was, which is pretty hefty. And that's a new skill he's been working on, the Balandin to Maltese, that final position. Extremely strong. The inverted cross, not as common, and that is obscene. Plenty of strength there in abundance, and this guy just looks like he never gets tired. Jonassen's showing the swinging elements again, swinging to handstands, slight wobble there. Again, over halfway in the competition, so getting a little bit tired, but still holding those strength skills very well. Going for the triple somersault, and he managed to keep it on his feet. We've seen a couple of the guys not quite manage it, but again, Harry, so much power, and he looks happy. He looks happy, and he should be.
Yes, a big smile on his face at the end of that routine. How difficult is it when you start to get a bit of a swing on those rings to bring them back under control? Because it looks pretty tricky to me.
Oh, mission one was never get a swing on. No, it's really difficult. And again, if you're later on in the competition, you're going to be struggling. And the judges actually deduct every swing that looks out of place. Then you're going to lose a 10th. So you don't want too many of them.
Yeah, of course, to give them their full name, they are the still rings, aren't they? Not the swinging rings, sadly.
Mine were never still.
So here we go, we're headed back to our men's floor competition, and this is Jakey Edwards.
And he is extremely powerful on floor. I think this is one of his favourites. Started with the double pike, and then the double pike Arabian unfortunately sits down, and again has to compose himself. Continues with the 2.5 twist, slight step back, and you'll see every jump to the corner they have to do something different. It's part of the artistry rules, and if they don't, there will be a deduction. Nice connection. That was a bit more under control. And this counts as one of the non-acrobatic. These are Russians. He's gone for the triple Russian, which is a C value. And again, using these rolls and pauses just to get his breath back. A few more tumbles to go. And nailing that landing. It's all about the sticks, the more the better. Preparing for his final tumble. The double Arabian. Just a hop backwards. And if the gymnast does stick their final tumble, they do get a 0.1 bonus, which is a new addition in the last 2 years. So every gymnast will be looking for that.
Yeah, the format of men's floor has changed quite a lot over the last couple of years, hasn't it? With the introduction of, as you mentioned, these artistic transitions in the corners. Of course, we had the mandatory scales that everyone had to do last year, and now they've got a bit of flexibility about what that element can be. But it's certainly changed what the routines look like.
Absolutely, I think I retired at the right time. I'm not the most artistic, but I think it does lend something to the floor routines, and it brings it back to, you know, years and years ago, it was all about artistry. You got extra points for being artistic. So I think they're trying to bring a little bit more of that in.
And speaking of being artistic on the floor, our next competitor is no stranger to incredible performances on this piece of apparatus. So 2025 world silver medalist on the floor. Let's welcome Ruby Evans. Such an engaging opening to this routine, really drawing the audience and the judges. And a huge opening tumble, the double straight somersault high in the air, maintaining that exceptional body line throughout. And you can see the concentration for that difficult second tumble, straight front into the double twisting straight. Now all of the gymnasts have to show a leap series, which is a combination of leaps, which must include a 180-degree split. Ruby doing that with ease. And a lovely third pass there, using 2 full twists combined for a bonus as a direct C to C somersault combination. This routine works so well for Ruby. It's so expressive and really benefits her from those artistry points. She can move so beautifully to this piece, and it really feels like she's found some choreography that suits her down to the ground. A huge double tuck somersault to finish off, takes the bounce back, almost like she has too much power to finish this routine. But what a fantastically dramatic ending, and the crowd here in Liverpool absolutely loved it.
Such an exciting competitor, and you can see why. She's got a medal on the world stage. The raw power that she can produce.
Yeah, she's such an exciting gymnast for this GB programme. Really still quite a young senior in the grand scheme of things. And, you know, she's got many, many years left ahead of her to develop these skills and routines even further. But right now, we're going to head over to the vault. And we have got Sol Scott.
Sol Scott, a really powerful vaulter. And he's gone for the triple twist. And that was sky high. Unbelievable. And he's a young up-and-comer, recently senior, and he is, well, he's got results on results now. He's just back from Germany World Cup in Cottbus, where he had a silver on the vault, so his confidence must be through the roof at the moment, and it shows.
For sure. We spoke about Alex from Knots earlier and how he's got quite a different body type, and I feel like Sol's kind of similar. He's very tall, he's very elegant, and it really does give a pristine look to his gymnastics.
Definitely, and you can see that he makes the most of it. You know, the twisting vaults, that is where you can really get your elegance. You can really show that, and you can get that across. And the way you twist the way he makes those vaults look so easy. Very impressive. So he'll be happy with that first vault. Preparing for his second one now. Again, looking for a spot in tomorrow's vault final.
And we mentioned earlier about the guy who's using the sort of chalk and syrup on the P-bars to prepare them, but Sol here using it on his hands ready for vault. And is that something they do to aid their block off the table?
Yeah, again, when it's a sort of a newer vault, which they sort of roll out for the competitions like this, they're not particularly grippy, so preparing your own, sort of your hands, stops you from slipping over the top of the table, which does happen, unfortunately. And here he goes. And the Kasamatsu with a 2.5 twist. A little bit unsteady on the landing, but I think he managed to keep that inside the lines. But strong vaults from Sol.
And for me, he's just a gymnast that I love to watch. I think, you know, in gymnastics, execution should always be king. And he is the gymnast that just does really, really beautiful work.
He's so clean. He showed it in his junior career as well. I was fortunate enough to compete with him as well. When they have the European Championships that have senior and junior, and you could see it in his gymnastics, so clean. And he's always rewarded with it. I mean, look at that in the air. You know, feet together. Usually you get a crossover of the feet when people twist, but not with Sol.
The other thing about that I find really impressive as well is he's obviously teammates with Jake Jarman, and they've got quite different styles of gymnastics, but it just goes to show the strength of the coach as well at that club, that he's developed these two gymnasts with quite different styles, but both exceptional performers, and it's just very exciting to see.
Definitely. I think Ben, their coach, is a magician when it comes to that. Really brings their individuality through.
Crossing over to the floor now, we've got Jemima Taylor, another one of the Welsh competitors here today, who is definitely seeking one of those spots on the Commonwealth Games team this summer. She's quite renowned for her work on the floor and the beam, and has had World Cup success on this piece of apparatus. She doesn't have huge difficulty compared to some of the other competitors, but she's a gymnast who has really beautiful execution. And you can see these landings keeping them very tidily under control. And there's just not too much for these judges to take. Being expressive with her dance too, making sure to engage those judges. And there really is an expectation that gymnasts are using facial expressions and whole body movement to encompass what their floor music means to them. Beautifully through the change leg ring leap. Moving smoothly into the corner. You can see the clock on the board there. Tells us that she's got a maximum of 10 seconds left of this routine. So pushing hard into her final tumble, pulling up for the double tuck. And a lovely finish to that routine. That double tuck finish is another D-rated skill, which means she gets a 0.2 bonus for that dismount. And certainly a clean and tidy performance for Miss Jemima on floor.
And that's nice to see the men and the women sort of supporting each other. A little high five there from Jo Kemlin-Jones as she finished her routine.
And of course, Jo also going for that Welsh Commonwealth team, so maybe it's a bit of a Welsh camaraderie there too.
Definitely. Definitely, and that's always great to see. I think we've seen a lot more of that in recent years, so that integration between the men's and women's programs, which is important. You can definitely learn from each other.
Really tidy there on the combination tumble. You can see legs and feet locked together throughout those somersaults. And then this, the final pass, the double tuck, just slightly under-rotated, the chest a little bit low. So there will be a small amount of room for the judges to deduct. But Coach Liv Brill there, obviously happy with the performance, a big hug, and happy to see her teammates too.
Jo Kemlin-Jones halfway through his routine. Unfortunately sat down on the first tumble, but he's brought the rest under control. And again, that's not one we've seen too often, this wide arm lift to handstand. C value. But again, oddly enough, a little time to breathe. Got to show those twisting elements as well as the doubles somersault elements as well. And the scale. And that can be a tricky one when you're out of breath, but he seemed to handle it well. Into the double somersault. It looked like he just lost control on his takeoff there and was a little bit wonky in the air and ended up rolling backwards. Unfortunately, we'll have to count the fall.
And you could hear his teammates before that last tumble really shouting, egging him on. So maybe that's been a bit of a tricky one in the gym. It's that dismount tumble is always a hard one, isn't it? When you're feeling tired, it's not easy to deliver.
Exactly that, and it's really hard to train floor routines because they're so heavy on your body. You don't want to do infinite amounts of them. You want to sort of pace yourself so your body doesn't have too much wear and tear, but at the same time you've got to get that endurance.
Yeah, it's definitely a tricky balance. Obviously, as you mentioned, it's a heavy piece, it's a lot of impact, and we're doing a lot of full routines, attracts quite a lot of risk of injury as well. So gymnasts and coach are always working hard to think, right, what can we do on the tumble track instead? Is there a way we can introduce a softer landing just to make sure we're getting that work done but reducing the risk of injury? Joining Ellie Lewis now on the floor. She had a difficult outing on beam, so will no doubt be looking to put things right here on the floor. Opening with a lofty double pike somersault. And I believe this is a new floor routine for Ellie this year. Gorgeous split position in the change leg. Oh dear. So she attempted a tourgette there after the change leg, but for whatever reason that takeoff wasn't quite right. And that could be a costly mistake because that would have been her leap series. And without it, she'll be half a mark down on her start value, as well as the value of the skill. And this is where it gets a bit tricky. On somewhere like beam, if you miss your leap series, it's quite easy to just pop another couple of jumps in to make sure you've got that requirement. But on floor, where the routine is so choreographed to the music, it's very difficult to make that alteration mid-routine. She's got a little bit of time left, and you can see that the dance is a little bit calm getting her to this corner. So I'd imagine one final tumble to go. tidy double twist. Oh yeah, and time is up, so hasn't chosen to add another leap series in. And whilst that, for the most part, was a tidy routine, there is going to be a significant dent in her start value thanks to that error on the leap series. What a shame for Ellie. The competition's just not going her way today.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's part of it as well. You got to take the good with the bad. That's just sort of the way it is. And hopefully she can have a reset after the competition and come back even stronger.
Really strong here on the tumbling, though. You can see the opening double pike somersault sky high in the air. Just the smallest of adjustments on the landing. And this her forward pass, choosing the straight front full twist. All of the gymnasts have to show elements that rotate both forwards and backwards and have to ensure they have at least one tumble with a twist in it. Ellie more than fulfilled that requirement by having a double twist at the end of the routine too. And no doubt receiving some wise words from her coach in this moment. Once again, still 2 more pieces to go, Ellie, so keep your chin up.
Gabriel Langton here. Ready for the floor. Full twist into the double front and a nice landing. That almost looked as though it was perfection on the edge of disaster. Wanted to sit it down, but managed to hold it. Good landings. Gabe was an excellent junior. Made his move up to senior to tackle the big guns. Nice landings. Really excellent gymnast, and it is hard making that transition from junior to senior, even mentally. You know, you're not even finished growing yet. 18 years old, you're sort of still dealing with changes, and then to be out there in the big wide world, it's a difficult transition. Nice connection there. Again, small hops on the landings. The judges won't take too much. But again, we're looking for the sticks. Completely stuck landings with no steps. Will he get it on the final one? Not quite. Big step backwards, get 3-temp deduction, but no falls for Gabriel.
And not giving a lot away with his reaction there, is he? Sometimes it's easy to tell, you know, if they walk off the floor with a grin or look really frustrated, but I don't know, what do you reckon he's thinking?
Well, I mean, with a tash like that, you've got to have a stoic demeanour, haven't you? I think he'd be quietly pleased with that. You know, floor's not his forte. You know, he's good at it, but it's not his strongest piece. And again, like I said earlier, he's sort of transitioned from junior to senior. He might still be trying to find his best apparatus, and at the moment, all around is his best shot.
And coaches that complete that rotation. Liverpool, please show support as they move to the next apparatus.
So that floor routine does wrap up this rotation. We've just got 2 more pieces to go, and we're getting to the exciting end of this competition.
Absolutely, into the business end. And look, Gabe's just finished his routine there, and he's having to rush off to the next apparatus, so it is all systems go. A bit exciting. You can see a couple of the gymnasts a bit more laid back, ready for the next round.
So as they're getting ready, we're going to throw over back to the studio to get the thoughts from Sid and Sam.
Thanks, Katie. It really is hotting up here in Liverpool. Some more fantastic performances in that rotation, Sam.
Incredibly strong performances from both the men and the women. With the men on vault, we had Jake Jarman, a former world champion on that apparatus, doing some incredible vaults, and also his club teammate Sol Scott, first-year senior, doing one of the most beautiful Yurchenko triple twists I think I've ever seen.
Huntington are really putting out a strong performance as a club here, Sam. And I loved earlier, you told me it's so impressive, the vaults that they can put out there, given their gymnastics setup at home.
Absolutely. I trained at that gym when I was a young 14-year-old, and they don't have a full runway. So those gymnasts learn to run from an 18-meter run-up instead of a 25-meter run-up. So all the more impressive that Jake became a vaulting world champion.
It really is astounding, but shows what they can do. They've got an amazing setup there at Huntington. And with Sol's performance, really shows that the future is bright. But we also had some really strong performances from the women over on the floor. We saw some new debuts of floor routines. Becky Downey performed on floor for the first time since 2024. We can take a look at it now. She scored a 12.85 for this routine. It's the joint second highest score of the day, and she really does get her points from the artistry in this routine, Sam. Those leap series are beautiful, and she also gets combinations for her tumbles, that double twist right into the corner there.
Absolutely, Sydney, a beautiful performance. And I think of all the apparatus we're going to see Becky on today, the fact that she's able to perform this floor routine after all of the injuries that she's had throughout her career and do multiple apparatus well into her 30s is absolutely incredible. And it's a great example for everybody out there listening and watching today.
Yeah, she is such a comeback story. She only competed on bars and beam at the English, so it was a bit of a surprise to see her on floor here, but it was definitely to the delight of everyone in the crowd. We're also going to take a look at Ellie Lewis's floor. She finished up the rotation here. We've seen that she's had a little bit of a tough start to the competition. She's a young gymnast, a second-year senior from Pennebont Gymnastics Club, and she's one of those gymnasts that really will be pushing for the Commonwealth Games this summer. So whilst these opening two pieces of apparatus might not have gone her way, starting with a double pike, it was a really strong start to the routine and definitely one to watch for the future, Sam.
Absolutely, and that was a great first tumble. Technically, absolutely brilliant. Just a small hop on the landing. And that's the way you want to start a floor routine. You want to make sure that first tumble is really strong and solid on your feet, and that will set you up for the rest of the routine.
That was where we saw the costly error that led her out of her leap series, which, as Katie mentioned, is a requirement on the floor. But seeing as Ellie is only a second-year senior, she does really well to snap out of it quite quickly, continue with the floor routine, and crucially, in women's artistic gymnastics, stick with the music. Because when you make a mistake like that, you can get off track really rather quickly, and you gain points on women's floor for artistry. So it's quite crucial that she did manage to stay on track, but she will, of course, take quite a hefty deduction for missing that leap series.
Yeah, and it's one thing that you have to really focus on as a gymnast. If you make a mistake in the routine, you have to be able to refocus as quickly as possible, especially on the floor when you're trying to time your routine to the music.
And yes, Ellie finished up that second rotation for the women there. She finished strongly despite that error, and hopefully she can carry on with the next two rotations. But a gymnast who's going to feature in this next rotation is one I cannot wait for, Sam, because we are going to see the return of Olympic medalist Alice Kinsella, who has quite the incredible comeback story. Take a look at this.
Hi, I'm Alice Kinsella. I would describe myself as being pretty chilled. I like to go shopping, I like anything to do with fashion, and I'd say my style is quite urban. My perfect day would be to get up and have a coffee and then get back into bed and stay in there all day.
It's true, isn't it?
Something that always makes me smile is getting together with my family. A photo that means a lot to me is this one, and because I've always wanted an Olympic medal, so yeah, cool. What I would say to 10-year-old Alice is keep working hard and keep following those dreams of yours. I'm Alice Kinsella and I'm an artistic gymnast for Great Britain.
It's great to see a bit of Alice's personality there. She didn't even mention the fact that she's a new mum and about to compete on a huge stage like this, Sam. It's quite an incredible story. Her son is in the crowd and he's going to get to watch his mum compete on this stage.
What a special moment, and obviously Alice is an Olympic medalist, so his mum is a real superhero. We're going to pass to the commentary box now, and Katie and James are going to take us through this balance beam routine.
Well, we're going to have Alice coming up next, but first we've got Jamie Rayner-Corbett from Park Wrekin. Now, Jamie is a new senior after a fantastic junior competition at these British Championships last year. And she was a new face to me in 2025, but really blew my socks off with the gymnastics that she did in that junior championships. It's quite a big step up to this senior stage, though, and it looks like she's being a little bit cautious in this beam routine. But a very cool skill there with the backward roll to handstand. Might have had to bail out of it slightly differently to how she intended. But a fun little skill to have in the routine. And some of these connections not quite working, but importantly, she's staying cool and collected. As we've mentioned, the name of the game on beam is to minimise those wobbles, therefore minimising the deductions, and of course stay on the apparatus. And she, as a first-year senior, is doing that beautifully. Now Jamie trains at Park Wrekin, so she is teammates with Alice. I'm sure she'll have given her some words of wisdom. And does well there with the 2.5 twist dismount. You can see Coach Ellie there actually delighted with that performance. Sometimes just staying on the beam is the name of the game.
Absolutely, and even with a little mistake there on the landing, it's important that your coach is supportive, just to make sure that you're not affected for the next apparatus, really. So, well done, coach. And of course, well done, gymnast.
Next on from Bristol Hawks Gym Club, Shante Eva Mangwa.
Lots of gymnastics going on around the arena.
And taking another look at that 2.5 twist dismount. As I mentioned earlier, these senior gymnasts will be pushing for those D dismounts that attract that 0.2 bonus at the end of their routine. But it is a big ask at the end of a long routine, whether it be on bars, beam or floor. Pushing for a high difficulty dismount like that is a challenge. And on this occasion, I'd say that step that Jamie took is at least a 0.3 deduction. So it might not have paid off this time, but actually getting the experience of doing those high difficulty skills in a competition routine is really critical to be able to build that and gain experience for the future.
It's all about the confidence. You can't have it all when you're a youngster, but you can certainly put in the groundwork. And here she is, the woman of the hour.
Absolutely, confidence is certainly the name of the game on the beam, and Alice is no stranger to this piece of apparatus. A European champion on this piece, an Olympic medalist, and as Sid mentioned, a new mum at the back end of last year. So her return to competition today is nothing short of remarkable. She really is making history here at these British Championships. Such a confident and elegant mover on this piece of apparatus. And you can see she's really focusing ahead of this spin beautifully through the double wolf turn. Now setting herself up for her acrobatic series. Ooh. No, going for something a little bit different today, so it's the free walkover. She'd have hoped to join that directly into the split and straddle jump to attract a little bit of series bonus. But didn't take too much of a bobble, and as we mentioned, sometimes just staying on the beam is the name of the game. It's that acro series coming up now. The free cartwheel into the layout like she's never been away. Cleanly through the leaps, change leg into change leg half. Really building the difficulty now in this beam routine, and just the dismount to go. Punches hard, round off, double twist. Alice Kinsella, welcome back to the British Championships.
It's just a testament to her hard work. You know, after a child, that's insane, you know, and to perform a routine like that. And obviously she's happy about it, and so is Coach Brett, who has been with her for a long time.
I mean, just remarkable, really. Alice has been such a solid member of the British team for such a long time. We were wondering if she'd, you know, take a bit of a break from competition, because she had about 3 or maybe even 4 years where she attended every international, but never did we dream that it'd be her having a baby that forced her to have a few months off.
Absolutely. And I think there's a theme that develops as well. I think when you become a parent, you want to do it for your child as well. I see it with Courtney, I see it with Max. They always talk about how they love to compete for their kid, and the kid sees them on TV, and it's just a different kind of magic. So you can always see that second wind when they become a parent, when you would actually think it would be the opposite. You'd be knackered with the sleepless nights, but obviously not the case to perform like that.
And the thing that really stands out for me is when you do have that massive life change, to commit yourself to getting back into training, to getting back into competition, She must really love gymnastics. It must be such an important thing in her life, and goodness me, it shows in her performance.
Definitely a very, very impressive woman.
So fantastic job by Alice. We're going to get a chance now to look back at Jo Fraser's pommel routine from just a few moments ago.
Nicely up into the sheer handstand and another one. Both D value. And into the triple Russian in the middle. And he's up back onto the handles. Moving well, very well. Lovely work in the Stockleys. A lot of handle work from Jo, which is intricate work. And into the travel, the Wu travel. And into the Tong Fei. And then ready for the dismount. And he's up, he's got the E value. So he's maxed out his difficulty. And there's a little smile on his face, and rightly so. And a nice big cheer from Jo Fraser.
He is enjoying a fantastic competition so far. And I know at the hotel this morning you were following him into breakfast, so what's his secret? What did he have on his breakfast plate this morning?
Pancakes, loads of pancakes and chocolate. No, I'm just kidding. It's all about fuel. The day of the competition, it's all about fuel. And Jo knows exactly what he's doing. An experienced guy.
So we've whizzed over to the P-bars now. I think this is Jed Solomon from the city of Manchester.
Certainly is. Seems to be moving well in his routine. Just saw straddle somersault to his upper arms and then the tip out. A little bit low on the tip out. You want to make sure your legs don't touch the bar. Nice into the dismount. Ooh, couple paces forwards. That will be costly, but he'll be happy to have stayed on his feet. Well done, Jed. Coach Matt there, happy. The city of Manchester. Nice, here we go again. The straddle front somersault. Nicely round. You've really got to minimize your hand movements while you're in handstand. You can see a couple there. A little bit low on the tip out, but I don't think his legs touched. Into the Diam again, keeping it nice and tidy. And this bit, he still looked happy, but that would have let him down a little bit, his score. But not enough to put him off. Still smiles, smiles all around.
And just in case when we're watching those replays back, you think that we've forgot to pick up the Hoover or the duster. You can see a lot of chalk in the air here in this arena, can't you?
I know, even as we talk now, there's chalk settling on our desk, and we're nowhere near the action, really, but yeah, it's everywhere. It's, you know, they use it on their hands, their feet, their arms, everywhere. You know, you'll go home later and it will be in your suitcase in the loft somewhere you've never been with any chalk. So, yeah, it's everywhere, but completely necessary.
And Sol, who's going to be going up on the P-bars next, is certainly a fan of the stuff by the looks of it, putting plenty of chalk on the rails.
Yeah, absolutely. What choice does he have? But here he goes. Ready to go, and again, looking for some nice clean work from Sol. Nice work. P-bar isn't his strongest, but look how well he turns into the long swing, into Diamidov, and another long swing. Nice Makuts, moving quickly. He's packing in the difficulty here. Nice Healy with a hop turn. That is a piece of classic gymnastics. And then straight away into the double pike. That routine wouldn't have looked out of place 20, 30 years ago. What a routine. I'm getting the chef's kiss from the national coach next to me. And I think I agree with him. Great routine there from Sol.
And I appreciated the efficiency of that routine. I'm very much hoping we're going to be whizzing over to floor next, because it looks like world bronze medalist Abby Martin is getting set to do her routine.
Next on floor from South Devon School of Gym, Abigail Martin.
Sol moving cleanly through his work there. And it's so fast-paced, you've really got to keep up as a gymnast. Your mind is going a million miles an hour, and he's moving quick. And I tell you, when you miss your hands on one of those bars and land on your armpit, you know all about it. So to move with that pace shows some confidence from Sol. Such a nice routine, barely a flicker. His coach will definitely be happy with that. Jake Jarman is up next. He'll be feeling settled, happy after watching his teammate deliver a routine like that. Give him a slight boost of confidence.
And as we mentioned at the top of the show, it's going to be the first time that Jake's done 6 pieces, an all-around competition since the Olympic Games. He's had a fantastic competition so far, and no doubt looking to continue that on the P-bars.
Absolutely, and he's had an excellent competition, like you said, and he's, you know, building on that confidence. And it can be a little bit like stacking plates. You know, you're going so well, and you think, I hope I don't have a mistake now, you know. But if he keeps a level head, and if I know Jake, he will, because he is a calm character, he will deliver a good P-bar. And he's got the difficulty. He's been in international finals again and again on this apparatus, so he's got the credentials.
It always surprises me to see how calm of a competitor he is, because I get the sense that he's quite a big personality.
He is, but he's just the nicest guy you'll ever meet. He's happy to talk about gymnastics when you're in the gym, but he's also happy to talk about anything else when you're outside. He's the nicest guy, and he's learned how to control himself, which I think was something he struggled with when he was younger in competition. You know, that focus, but you know, obviously, again, with his credentials and what he's achieved, it's obvious that he is a fantastic competitor. And here he is, calm and collected. Saluting the judges, ready for his routine. Let's go, Jake. He starts with the drop shoot into the Honma. Not quite right on that one. Couldn't manage the swing to handstand, so there will be a deduction of half a mark, 5/10. And he tries the Makuts, which is a new skill, the same one that Max Whitlock fell on. Unfortunately, couldn't pull it off this time. But hats off to him for trying to boost his D score and really get that difficulty up. Didn't quite work this time. But again, this is the place to try it. He's got major competitions later on in the year, so he's doing the right thing. Got to be brave. Risk versus reward. Again, I think there was an okay from him, so just resetting himself, going to hop back on the apparatus. And as soon as you touch those bars after a fall, the judges' pens go to paper. You've got to be as clean as possible. And again, tries it again. Didn't quite pay off, but very impressive that he gave it a go. Most gymnasts just wouldn't do it and will carry on. Again, looks a little bit unsettled. Needs to breathe, calm down, relax. He's done the training. He has to remember he's done the training. And he just finished the rest of his routine cleanly. Into the Bavsar. That was sky high. E value. So again, packing in the difficulty. A nice tip L. Looks a little bit on the tired side. He's just got to keep fighting. Nice, a little bit soft there, and then it's a big dismount. You can always trust that he's going to do it. A very, very good dismount. Gets the stick, will get the bonus, and the facial expression says it all. I think he may have hit his heel on the way down on that second attempt at the Makuts, but he gave it a go.
He definitely seems like another one of those gymnasts that can kind of zone in and focus in the moment, but is more than happy to kind of let loose and relax after that routine is complete.
Absolutely. I mean, he's a very wise gymnast. He knows it can't be undone. There, we just saw he hit his heel on the parallel bars, and those things are made of wood, so they're not very soft. But again, to carry on like that is a true test of his resolve. And he moved quite well. A little bit unsettled, but got through the routine. And of course, the lovely dismount with a nice stick. Not giving anything away that he didn't have to. He's quite a character, quite a character. He'll laugh about that later. Just an arm around the shoulder from his coach there. Sometimes that's all you need. Sometimes you don't even need the words of wisdom, just the arm around the shoulder.
So we're going to join Zara Toyne on floor now from Manchester Academy of Gymnastics. She is a fantastic floor worker and really finds a way to pack difficulty into her tumbles. And certainly not an easy task when you're following a world floor medalist on this piece, but she's holding her own. Getting to the tail end of the routine now. The dancing's calming down a little bit, making sure she can catch her breath and set herself ready for this last tumble. Handspring straight for a double twist, and you can see she had a smile on her face as she landed a very difficult and technical D-rated element to finish that floor routine. And I'm sure, yes, coach as happy as Zara is. A big high five and delighted with that floor routine.
Next on floor from South Essex Gymnastics Club, Alexander, Mr. Venue.
You can see she was fighting for every deduction on those landings, trying to minimise the steps and, of course, keep her landings within that floor area. And lovely to see a gymnast looking so delighted with their routine.
And Alex Niscovanu on the floor, unfortunately, a fall on that first tumble. He's managed to bring it back with the double front half, getting the difficulty in. Just looking a little bit tired, end of the competition, and sometimes that can be frustrating. You don't really know why it's happening to you, but the other 5 apparatus that he's competed on will really have taken a toll. The 2.5 twist into the, I think that was supposed to be a straight front, but again, that power issue, and it was only a tuck, so there'll be no connection bonus there. But with the simpler tumbles, managing to get the stick, so clawing back all the tenths that he could possibly manage. Into the final tumble. Double somersault, the full twist, did well to get that to his feet. Slight step out, that'd be a 1/10 penalty. He looked slightly disappointed, but stayed safe, that's what matters.
A frustrating routine there. It felt a little bit like once the first mistake had happened, he let it get to him a little bit, and it's a bit of a game, isn't it? Once you've had that first mistake, you really do need to kind of stem that and see if you can pick up and carry on. But really didn't set up very high for that double-double. The shoulder dropped back, and it was lacking a bit of height and rotation.
Definitely, and it is a mind game. It is a, you know, it's a really difficult thing to do, to pretend it's not happened, but that's part of the game. That's what makes it an excellent athlete.
So we join Frank Stone here as she starts her floor routine. Frank was the silver medalist at last year's all-around British Championships and a member of that European team in 2025. A sky-high double pike somersault to open. And I think it's the first time that Frank's competed across all 4 apparatus this year here at these British Championships. She's exceptional on the beam, but also has beautiful work here on the floor. Hailing from Derbyshire Gymnastics Academy, up in the East Midlands. Oh, and did well there, because her legs buckled a little bit on that combination tumble, but managed to avoid too many deductions on the straight front full turn. The gymnasts, of course, having to show real artistic expression through their floor routine, and Frank taking this slightly slower area of the music to do just that. The judges have a very long artistry checklist that they have to be ticking off as they go through these routines. They want to see expression and extension in the gymnast's work. And the gymnasts, of course, have to balance that good quality dance without using too much energy that they need to save for big tumbles just like that. A beautiful double tuck to finish the routine, and a great performance from Frank.
Yeah, she looks happy with that, and she should be.
Yep, she's only a second-year senior, and she's very young in her year. Her birthday's in December, so still a very young senior. Had a very successful and busy 2025, and you can see Coach Jenny there absolutely delighted with that performance. She seems to be peaking at the right time. She's yet another member of that Welsh squad, and will be looking to gain a place on the Commonwealth team this summer. And with a performance like that, she's done herself some good bonus points, I reckon, with those selectors.
Wales are going to have a tough time, aren't they?
Absolutely. Do you know what? The battle to get on that Welsh team, I think, might be the strongest of all the home nations.
Here's Courtney Tulloch on the floor. A massive opening tumble. The double straight. 2 somersaults in the straight position with 2 twists. Into the straight front, into the double front. He's really got those landings under control. And again, 30 years old, and it's moving like a 21-year-old. 2.5 twist. Again, absolutely stacking the difficulty up. Double straight somersault with a full twist. And the pommel horse work. I told you, he's not just a rings worker. And then, of course, he has to show off a little bit of his strength. These are non-acrobatic elements. You can hear his teammates really cheering him on, giving that extra drive. Double straight somersault. Wow. Lovely way to finish a routine. A little bit low, but he really got the difficulty in there. And a cheer to the crowd, and rightly so. Take a bow, sir. Take a bow.
That is such a challenging last tumble. I know the guys, you know, have got to show that double somersault now, but a double straight, the amount of power and rotation needed for that kind of element is pretty impressive.
Yeah, people usually opt for the double pike, which is a little bit easier because you can grab your legs and it's not a long way to go round, but the double straight is an E value and you really do get rewarded for it, so good on him. And again, Courtney's had to reinvent and just look at him. Goes through an enormous floor routine, stay relevant, to stay at the top, and he's done a great job.
As we mentioned earlier, he's such an interesting performer because he's got that build. He's so strong. You can see the muscles on him. You can see why he's such a great worker on the rings, but uses that strength and power to such great effect on the floor and the vault as well. He's a really dynamic athlete.
Definitely, he's got the power and he shows it off. And floor wouldn't have been his strongest piece back in the day, you know, when he was a younger lad, but he's really brought it through in his older years. I use the word older carefully, by the way. It really brings his strength through.
And that routine has wrapped up our 5th rotation, which means, unbelievably, we are now moving round to our final piece of apparatus, and it will not be long before our new British champions are crowned.
Thank you, Katie and James.
You can see just
in the commentary box.
The arena is now. It was a little bit quiet at the start of the competition.
Thank you, Katie and James, in the commentary box. That was an incredible rotation again there, and we've got Joe Fraser in the lead in the men's all-around competition, with Jake making a mistake on his parallel bars performance, but it's getting really exciting as we go into that 6th and final rotation.
This competition has absolutely flown by. I can't quite believe it's almost the final rotation. But yeah, some critical mistakes there from Jake Jarman that he'll be kicking himself for, that he's so close. He's still sitting in the silver medal spot, but he's letting Joe run away with it a little bit.
He's opened the door a little bit for the other gymnasts that are behind him as well, Sydney. So we've got a real battle for that bronze medal at the moment between Ruben Ward and Jonas Rushworth. It's going to be super exciting. Jake's got high bar to finish on. He's going to try and perform the casino element. He's not done that for a few years, so we could have a really exciting final rotation in store for us. But at the moment, Joe really is leading the way with a world-class performance.
And the women's competition is equally as tight. Ruby Evans is currently sitting top of the standings, with Shante Amankwa sitting just behind her from Bristol Hawks, and Ruby Stacey, all of them going round together, sitting in 3rd. But in that rotation, we actually saw one of the routines that I was most looking forward to. It was Abigail Martin's floor routine. She burst on to the international scene when she was named in the Paris Olympics team. But this routine for me really marks a change for Abby. It's very dramatic, almost cinematic. It was actually choreographed by the coach of one of your favourite gymnasts, Sam, Kaylia Namor, and it's a lot darker than we've seen from Abby. It's allowed her to grow up a little bit, I think. We're not seeing her as the first, second-year senior, the youngest member of that Olympic team anymore. She's making a name for herself. She got that bronze medal at the Worlds last year, and she's showing that she's a real contender for these upcoming competitions. She scored a 13.4 here, which is just a tiny bit behind what she scored at that Worlds. It was a 13.466 there. But at this early stage of the season, to be getting scores similar to where she was when she peaked for that bronze medal is quite the feat. Lovely leap series there. And again, it's so engaging, and it really had captured the crowd here in Liverpool.
Absolutely, Sydney. It seems incredible that we're saying that Abby Martin and Ruby Evans are the experienced gymnasts on the team, but the reality is they've already competed at a handful of major championships in the past couple of years, and they're showing that experience here. Like you say, it's early on in the season, but they're both putting out amazing performances on the floor for everybody in the arena and everybody at home to witness.
And Abby really came into this competition with a bit of a target on her back, having won the English all-around title and obviously having been so successful from last season. Her first two pieces of apparatus perhaps didn't go as smoothly as she would like, so it's really great for her to get a solid performance here on the floor.
Absolutely, and Abby's going to finish on the vault, which again is one of her strong events. She took the World Cup gold medal in Paris last year prior to that World Championships, so a great piece for her to finish on strong. But you're right, you know, when I think back to 12 months ago, the all-around field in both the men's and the women's is just so competitive this year.
And the fact that she finishes her routine with a double tuck there, it can't be understated how difficult some of these tumbles are. She's certainly one to keep an eye on, but one that we will have to keep an eye on in this final rotation is Jo Fraser. There's plenty more names going on. Katie, James, best of luck keeping up with it all.
Thank you so much. We're certainly going to need this. It might feel like we're in the last rotation of the competition, but there are still some amazing routines to come. I can't wait to see where we're going to go first.
Oh, the pressure, the pressure. It's exciting. Last apparatus, it's all to play for.
Okay, and it looks like we're headed over to the beam. This is Shanna Grant from Leeds Gymnastics Club. She was a member of the GB senior squad last year and is a fantastic gymnast. She's often been on the cusp of getting major international assignments, but she's certainly got a few World Cups to her name and has also attended the World Student Games. She's a beautiful performer with some really unique skills here on the beam, especially enjoy her leaps. Starting off with a nice triple series there, getting her leap series out of the way and adding a tuck back somersault on the end to attract some series bonus. Just steadying herself before the all-important acrobatic series, flick into the layout, nice and steady. Shan is also known to be a very artistic gymnast and has picked up artistry awards for her work in the past. And that was the exciting leap that I really enjoy watching her do on the beam. The tourgette, a twisting element with that big split, is a very risky skill indeed on the beam. Doing a good job to stay nice and steady on that wolf spin. As we've mentioned, a skill that has challenged quite a few of the gymnasts here this weekend. But Shan staying very calm and collected as she readies herself for the big dismount. Punches hard off the beam, the big double back, and just the pace on the landing. Oh, and you can see just how excited her coach Steph from Leeds Gymnastics Club is about that performance. A fantastic beam routine for Shan. You can see she's got quite a lot of strapping on that one ankle. And you might also notice that she's wearing what we'd call a spin sock. So just on that left foot, you can see the elastic around the back of her heel. And the sock under the ball of her toe just makes some of those elements, particularly the spins, that little bit easier. Did very well to adjust there on her acrobatic series landing. And a familiar sight, Becky Downey getting herself ready for the bars. Now, Becky always likes to listen to her music until the last possible second. It just keeps her calm, keeps her in the zone, and blocks out some of that outside noise. At the English Championships just a few weeks ago, Becky came second on the bars. With a bit of a freestyled routine, if I'm being completely honest, but if anyone can freestyle a bar routine and still earn themselves a silver medal at an English Championships, it is Becky Downey. She's got such a repertoire of skills on this event. And really, she has just so many different combinations of routines that she could choose to do. So let's see what she can put out today. Now, mounting directly to the high bar, wanting to get her full turn out the way, and beautifully done with a toe on entry. Excellent with the connection there. Now later on she'd like to connect this shap skill directly from that combination, but doing well here, taking the catch-up cleanly over the bar. Beautiful floaty pack somersault down to the low bar. Shap with the half turn, beautifully done, building nicely. Really at the tail end of this routine, picks up beautifully into the dismount, full twisting double back. She is on her feet, and what a performance for Becky Downey. Just a year after 2 major shoulder surgeries. I mean, wow, what a woman.
So impressive, really packing the difficulty, and you can see why she is a major medalist. World Championships, European Championships, Commonwealth Games, unbelievable.
Oh, and you can see just filled with emotion there. Honestly, she loves gymnastics so much. At the age of 34, to still be going, to still be working at this level, you've got to love the sport. And to put a performance like that together with just clean, beautiful execution, still pushing the boundaries, pushing the difficulty, it just means everything to her. And wasn't that a delight to watch?
Absolutely. And I've had many conversations with her, and she said she's not really ready to give it up yet. She feels like she's got more to give. So why wouldn't you continue? If you've still got it in you, why not?
Oh, for sure. And do you know what? She's at a real advantage in this current point of the cycle, because there's a bit of a gap in that GB squad for bars. And if anyone can fill that gap and, you know, contribute towards team totals, it is the one and only Becky Downey. Now, we mentioned that Ruby Evans was leading this competition after 3 rotations, but for her, finishing on bars, probably not what she'd choose. This is not her strongest piece of apparatus, and it's one that she, I think, would freely admit is not her most confident performance. So she does look a little bit nervy, actually, doesn't she? She's trying to get in the zone, focusing. She's just got to get through this routine, do her job, and could that title be hers?
Yeah, I think it's difficult when you hear the announcers before you go during the last rotation. They say, oh, Ruby's at the top of the leaderboard, you know, and when you hear that, you think, oh, uh-oh, I've really got to go through now if I want to be in contention. So as a good athlete, you've got to put that to the back of her mind, and she is exactly that. She's an excellent athlete, so she'll be able to find that zone of hers and deliver the bar routine she deserves, and she knows she's capable of.
Yeah, no doubt. Hopefully she can take some big confidence from the 2 routines she's just put together. Floor and vault really are her specialist pieces, and now really she's just got to stay calm, stay steady, and sometimes for a routine you just need to get from A to B, and that's certainly the case for Ruby here. The score in for Becky Downey on bars is a 14.25. That is a huge total. Goodness gracious, what a performance that was. Let's see if Ruby Evans can nail this title and get through this routine. Working well with the clear shap, smoothly down into the pack somersault. Again, beautiful swing on the shap, straight into the ginger. A popular combination amongst the GB squad right now. Smoothly through the full turn, and surely just the dismount to go. Blind turn, forward giant, into the big double front somersault, and she's on her feet. And you can see the delight as she lands that routine, and there we go, Liv Brill as well. Oh my goodness, she's just an incredible bar routine, and she almost fell over stepping off the mat. If that's not the most gymnast thing you see today, I don't know what is.
Don't quit your day job, Ruby. That's brilliant, really, really brilliant. And you can see not just the elation of getting through such a great routine like that, but a little bit of relief. I think, again, with that pressure I mentioned before, you know, what a routine and what a time to do it.
Yeah, she's certainly not got the same difficulty level as the routine we saw before, but sometimes it's just the case of getting through and doing your job, which we said beforehand, and blimey, she did that. It was a very clean routine, a very steady performance. And you can just see the joy and elation. You know, you get so much from these performances when you know you've put in so much work in the gym. You've been working for days, months, years to get that performance right. And this time, she nailed it.
And we can just see Sol there off on a skill called the Pegan. And that is an F value skill, which is absolutely enormous. And unfortunately, didn't quite catch that. And whether or not he'll go for it again is another question. Again, like Jake on P-bar, you've got to make that decision. Are you going to go for it again to try and get the full start value, or are you going to give it a miss and finish clean? It looks like, judging by the way he is on the bar, he's going to give it a miss. Winding up for another release. Coleman, and a bit of a stretch, but he got that on the bar. But the stretch is what the judges want to see. They don't want to see any bent arms when you catch it. Into the Stolder Rabalko to L grip. Hands in a very uncomfortable position there, and the endo. And now preparing for the end of his routine. A Rabalko to L grip again. Very good at the turns and the quast. And now winding up for the dismount. Hoping for a stick. Oh, not quite. And he just sits it down. Again, that competition fatigue. It's been a long, long competition. And to find that energy just to land that at the end is really, you have to dig deep for that.
Some great unique skills in that routine, but unfortunately 2 costly falls that are going to take that score down considerably from what he'd been hoping for.
Yeah, he'll be a little bit upset with that. High bar is his forte. So. But moving on to Courtney on the pommel. Again, he's a man of many talents. Swinging well on the pommel. And again, he's got the ability to use a bit of strength. If it feels like he's off, he can muscle his way through. But he's moving quite well. Nice, up into the dismount. Oh, just falls the wrong way. Unfortunately, won't get the full value. But that's it, still a smile on his face. I think he freely admits he's not a pommel worker, so he doesn't expect too high a score.
Still nice to see those gymnasts who aren't natural workers on the apparatus pushing to get those routines, though, because when you're putting teams together, and especially this year where we've got a Commonwealth and a Europeans, and I believe the national coach has openly said that we're going to be sending different teams to both of those things, being able to contribute a score on an apparatus, even if it might be the first one up that, you know, the team are possibly hoping to drop, it's still really good to know that there's a routine in the bank you can use should you need it.
Absolutely, and you have to be strategic as a coach to sort of think, actually, yeah, if we do need it as that 4th man, usually in a competition format, it's a team competition format, is 3 up, 3 to count. But as a 4th man, you know, it can be that insurance. And as a good teammate, above all, it's good to keep it up because you know that maybe your team might need it. There might be some injuries in the team or some circumstances that will require you to go up. So you want to be ready.
And as we mentioned, you know, some gymnasts are on the team and they're going to be your first up. They're not going to be your highest score, but they're going to be a steady competitor. Other gymnasts are the people that you know you're going to put at the back end of that lineup because they're going to deliver a big score for the team exactly when it matters. And this next gymnast on the pommel horse is no stranger to being put in that position.
Here he goes. No stranger indeed. And he is, well, has been Olympic champion, world champion, European champion on this apparatus. And he delivered a few weeks ago, got the joint gold medal with Josh Nathan at the English Championships. So the pressure will be off a little bit, but I'll be hoping to deliver for tomorrow's final. Nice sheer to handstand. Again, Mac's been doing this routine for years. Nice circles, nice Russians now. The triple Russian, that's maximum difficulty. Moving very well. And as we've seen before, the triple Russian in the middle, back up onto the handle, so clean. A nice extension in his circle, which is exactly what the judges, want to see. Sorry, a little wobble there from him, uncharacteristic, but he's rescued it well. Moving well, he looks a little tired, out of his rhythm, out of his routine, and he's had to come off. I think just that wobble in the middle really put him off, and he wasn't quite sure how to deal with it. But that's okay, if there's any man that can pick himself up and finish the routine, then it's this man here.
And he was circling for a little while there, you know, just before he came off. Was that trying to find the rhythm again, or almost like, was he thinking about what the escape route was going to be?
Yes, so usually he goes up to handstand on one end of the pommel, does a full turn, and then comes back down into the flares. And I think he wasn't sure what to do, wasn't sure how to get there. So he's going through his routine now, a leg split on there, that'll be, again, costly. But he just wants to get through, get the remainder of his difficulty. Gets the D dismount, Looks a little bit disappointed, but gives a wave to the crowd, says his thanks, a true sportsman. And we'll wait for the score.
Okay, so next up we're going to be looking at a routine that just happened a couple of minutes ago. It's Jake Jarman on the high bar.
And this is a great routine. He hasn't competed some of these skills for a couple of years now. And again, like his P-bar, he wanted to go all in. Starts with a squat half to settle him. And now he's winding up for the Casina in this straight position, gets the catch comfortably as well. And then into the Kachevs. This is his bread and butter. Been in many teams with him where he's just delivered this time and time again. To the straddle Kachev. Into the in-bar turns, into the squat, and again into the L grips. Really great work from Jake. Not rushing through, getting it done, taking his time, winding up for the dismount now. A little bit low with his knees, but I don't believe they touch. Their small smile, characteristic of Jake. But I think he should be happy with that. He should be very happy with that. Just look at that. If there's one man that knows how to do Kachevs, these skills, then it's Jake. So steady, steady as you like. And a great routine. And it takes a lot of guts to go out there and put a routine like that out there. He could have gone basic, tried to go for the title, you know, as safely as possible, but he went for broke. And again, I think that's what he needs for his own confidence for the rest of the year.
And he showed fantastic experience on that dismount there. You know, a lesser gymnast could have easily fallen to their knees, but as we mentioned earlier, he's got just mind-blowing spatial awareness, and I think probably knew exactly where he was and made the adjustment to make sure he didn't take that costly fall.
Definitely. Again, a testament to his spatial awareness. He just knows exactly where he is.
So we saw an exceptional bars performance a few minutes ago from Becky Downey. I mentioned that she took the silver medal at the English Championships just a couple of weeks ago. I can tell you this next gymnast took the gold medal. This is Ruby Stacey. She's somewhat of a specialist on this piece of apparatus. And some would argue, unusually so. She's a very tall athlete in this field. I think she's taller than me, which is saying something. So the bars are actually on their higher setting. So if you're a tall gymnast, and if you could touch the floor by swinging with the bars on their usual height, you are eligible to have the bars raised. And Ruby is one of those gymnasts that has a really interesting, intricate routine with lots of connections, lots of difficulty. And we'll certainly be looking to deliver a clean performance here. Beautiful on the handstand line, straight in to the turning Kachev, into the Ejeva. Smooth and steady so far. Lovely on the full turn. Straight into the Shap, connected to the pack somersault. Ruby just seems to create time on this apparatus. She floats from bar to bar, and nothing ever looks like it's in a rush. These beautiful long lines carry her through so steadily. Kicking up high into the double front, a beautiful landing and an exceptional bar routine. I think we may have just seen the two best bar routines of this competition.
Definitely, and I think her height lends something to her bar working. It does look very floaty. She uses it well, uses it to her advantage, and I think that was quite a beautiful routine.
It was very lovely, and it's interesting actually, because we spoke about some of the taller male gymnasts having that really elegant look on the high bar. Of course, the difference with the girls is we've got a low bar to negotiate as well. We can't just swing around with our beautiful long shapes. We've got to dodge that low bar too, which when you're a taller gymnast can be a real difficulty, because you've got to adjust the shape of your giant so much to get past that low bar. But Ruby, really just an absolute expert and professional here on the bars, and delivered an outstanding routine there. She's had a very busy year of competition already as well. She went out to the American Cup in Las Vegas just a couple of weeks ago. So balancing her training and the travel and competition to deliver a routine like that here in Liverpool is really quite exceptional.
And that's all part of it, the travel. One week you'll be competing in America, the next week you'll be somewhere else in the world. And that's all part of it, having to manage that. At the end of the day, you're expected, I think you expect yourself to be able to compete no matter the conditions. And today she has competed very well.
And that's a great thing for the GB coaches to see as well, knowing that a gymnast can deliver even if you have had that extra travel day, if you're feeling a little bit tired. Being able to deliver those routines in whatever circumstance makes you a really valuable asset to a squad.
Absolutely, you want some athletes that you can trust, and sometimes the turnaround can be really quick out in the competition. I know in the States they had, I think it was 2 days, and then they had to compete. So that is, you know, for jet lag and all those types of things, you know, that's just the way it is. You have to be able to compete.
And fittingly, it looks like we're going to be rounding out this competition with last year's senior British champion. This is Alia Leet from Heathrow. We saw a fantastic performance from her earlier on the beam. And a little bit like Ruby Evans, I think she'd also say that bars is not her favourite piece of apparatus. So a challenging routine for her to finish. But she does have some real quality work on here if she can keep herself calm and collected to deliver it. Starting things off with her release and catch smoothly through the Straddle-Jaeger. And does well in the pack somersault, keeping it moving. Throws hard on the shap, kicks up. And using these transitions to her advantage, building her difficulty, swinging from high to low and back. Smoothly through the full turn and just the dismount to go. Shoot front in the pike with the half twist. A bounce back on the landing, but I know she will be chuffed to have got through that routine, although her face doesn't tell me quite the same story.
Yeah, she doesn't give much away, does she? But I thought that was a really nice routine, fitting for a defending champion. So we'll see where the score lands her.
I think she did have some difficulties possibly on the vault earlier. She went for a big vault, the double twist, which is new for her this year, and it didn't quite go to plan. So there's probably a bit of frustration there, knowing that she's delivered on key pieces of apparatus, bars and beam, but not being able to capitalise on that all-around performance because of other routines not quite going her way today.
Yeah, I think when you're in it, it feels like the end of the world a little bit. But she's done a great job. And again, once a champion, always a champion in my eyes. So take a bow, Alia. You've done very well.
I couldn't agree with you more. Putting your names in those history books is something that can never be erased. I love this dismount too. What a cool, unique dismount. The shoot for entry, using the pike shape and then that half twist so you can spot the floor to secure the landing. A really cool finish to that routine and indeed to this competition. And there you go, one more look at that dismount from the side, cleanly through. And the judges' heads immediately going down, popping pen to paper. They've got an important job to do there to work out both the difficulty and the execution scores. At a big competition like this, we're lucky to have full panels of very well qualified judges of national and international standard. So we'll be waiting for the final scores to come out very shortly. The announcers in the arena just mentioned there might be a couple of inquiries going in, which can slow things down a little bit. And what is it that would make the gymnastical coaches inquire about a score, James?
Well, I think, when you come into a competition, you have all your routines worked out, so you know the difficulty. And if you perform that routine and the numbers don't quite add up, so the judges may have given you something else, then you're going to inquire. You're going to say, why has that happened? What have the judges missed, or what have I missed? A bit of a blame game. But you put the inquiry in, and it'll either be accepted, and your score will be amended, hopefully to in your favour, or it will be rejected if the judges have got it right.
OK, so Joe Fraser, we've seen a few fantastic routines for him today. Certainly picked himself up from that performance at the English Championships a few weeks ago. So let's take a look at some of his highlights from today's competition.
Lovely smooth work there on the bars from Joe. And again, it's just that experience to be able to pick himself up. You know, we love to see that from the English champs to now.
And we are waiting for confirmation of the final scores, but it does look like Joe has given himself a very comfortable buffer. Surely no appeal is going to erase the 4-mark almost lead that he has above the rest of the field.
He's certainly run away with it. Whatever he had for breakfast worked.
Yeah, you should have paid closer attention. Maybe it was pancakes after all.
The magic formula. And he looks so happy, and he should be. You know, I think going from the highs and lows of gymnastics, and last year he was a world medalist on the bar, and then now to come off that high and back down and then back up to, well, hopefully British champion for him. That says something about his character.
Oh, he's a fantastic character, isn't he? He's a great advocate for the sport. He's got his own gymnastics club now, and he was telling me this morning that he's got over 800 participants going in and enjoying training every week there. So now he's balancing his training, his coaching with running a business. I mean, a fantastic guy all round, and just such a great ambassador for the sport of gymnastics.
Exactly that. And he loves it. He loves coaching in the gym, and hard worker.
And I think we probably have eyes on our British champion for the senior women as well. We're still waiting for confirmation of the final scores, but if I was a gambling woman, I would say that Ruby Evans is the 2026 all-around British champion.
And that's Ben getting her to sign things before she gets famous.
Well, that was an action-packed competition. I cannot wait to hear what Sid and Sam thought of all of that.
Oh, Katie, it was chaos here in the arena. There is so much going on. We're still waiting for absolute confirmation of the results. Sam, all of the judges have to cross the T's, dot the I's, just to make it official, isn't that right?
That's right, Sydney. I mean, this competition here is so important for these gymnasts and everybody involved in their support team, because there is selections on the line for those Commonwealth Games, European Championships, World Championships. So all of those gymnasts there will be hoping to hit those selection scores somewhere in their competition to have a chance at competing at those major championships in the summer. So it's absolutely critical that the judges get it right and we end up with the final standings.
Well, it is fantastic to see these behind-the-scenes images, because regardless, someone who should be very happy with their outing today is that woman right there, Ruby Evans. She smashed it out the park. Sometimes all you can ask for is a clean competition, isn't it?
Absolutely, Sydney. I mean, she's put in such a professional performance today. We can see her here on the beam. Absolute beautiful performances. So much artistry from Ruby. She finished on her, what you would say would be not her favourite apparatus, the bars, so I'm sure she was a little bit nervous, but she looked rock solid on that. And for the beam, the floor, the vault, going into that bars, I mean, she would have been full of confidence. A few of the girls made mistakes today, but not Ruby. She looked absolutely solid.
And for a gymnast that has really rocketed to attention, to global fame in the past few years, this was a title that had just evaded her grasp. She wasn't here last year, so she'll be happy to take this title. A fantastic effort from all of the gymnasts involved. We've absolutely loved it. We've been smiling along with them from here in the studio. We're going to be back with the top 8 gymnasts on all of the pieces of apparatus for the apparatus finals. That's 11:25 on BBC iPlayer tomorrow. You won't want to miss it.